Yeah, it was a dump and a septic. Both of them. But the problem is, so we don't know what the hell we don't know what we're going to do. So, I mean, I think that's wrong because none of the other they have a check. But it should be after the year that we have problems, so we can see what the problem is. Because we have except for the other side. That's the one we keep.
I know I couldn't get on. I was fucking shocked. I was
So we just walked out. And then there was another tree on Riverside Drive. Across the whole road and the docks. But it had to go off the road.
I've seen that.
That was the first option. Did you sign up?
No, I just got here. I don't even know what to say. I mean, I said something last time. But I mean, I got that letter.
All right, folks, we're going to start the June 26, 2023 Lower Saucon Township Council meeting. I will call the meeting to order. Mark, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Bononis,
Here.
Mr. Carochi, Ms. DeLeon,
Here.
Mr. Engels,
Wait, did you hear me here?
Ms. Yerger. Yes, just for the council, use these microphones. You have to press and hold them down. When the green light is on, then the mic is live.
All right, everyone, please stand and pledge the flag. All right, council did not meet in executive session this evening. There are no potential action on executive session issues. I will share with you the public comment procedure for those who may not be familiar with it. This is Resolution 31-2023, a resolution of the Council of Lower Saucon Township adopting an agenda, policy, and code of conduct for township council meetings, including this one at the Lower Saucon Fire Rescue. Whereas Lower Saucon Township is a township of the second-class optional plan of government located in Northampton County, Pennsylvania, and is governed by an elected council. And whereas the Pennsylvania Home Rule Charter and Optional Plans Law, the second-class Township Code, and the Lower Saucon Township Administrative Code all authorize the Council of Lower Saucon Township to promulgate rules and regulations for its council meetings. Whereas the Lower Saucon Township Council is authorized to establish a level of civility and to promote an atmosphere of reasoned expression of ideas in promulgating rules and regulations for its council meetings. Whereas the council recognizes public comment is intended to afford citizens an opportunity to bring important matters to the attention of Lower Saucon Township Council. Whereas the township Whereas the council is a strong advocate of free speech and wishes to promote an atmosphere of reasoned expression of ideas. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of Lower Saucon Township establishes the following rules and regulations regarding the agenda for public meetings and public comment and conduct during public meetings. Agenda. All regular and special meetings of the Lower Saucon Township Council shall be conducted in according to the following order of business. 1, opening. A, call to order. B, roll call. C, pledge of allegiance to the flag. D, announcement of executive session if applicable. E, public comment procedure. 2, public comment agenda items, residents, taxpayers only. 3, presentations, hearings. 4, developer items. 5, township business items. 6, miscellaneous business items. 7, council and staff reports. 8, public comment non-agenda items, residents and taxpayers only. 9, adjournment. 2, the township manager, in accordance with the Code of Lower Saucon Township, shall prepare a printed agenda for each meeting of the council and provide the same for public review at least 3 days prior to the commencement of such meeting. The agenda and any non-confidential accompanying material shall be posted on the township website. The agenda without material shall be posted at the township building, and copies shall be available at the meeting. 3, any council person who wishes to have an item listed on an agenda shall present a written request to the township manager with sufficient detail to describe the item at least 7 calendar days prior to the date of the meeting. The written request shall be accompanied by assent of one other council person to the request. This process shall not apply to emergency or special meeting of the township council. Public comment and participation. 1, public participation, including public comment relating to agenda items, shall occur at the beginning of the meeting and shall be listed on the agenda as public comment. Agenda items, residents, taxpayers only. 2, public participation, including public comment, will not be allowed after the commencement of the council's business meeting or during any other agenda item. 3, public participation, including public comment, shall be within the discretion and under the direction and control of the council president or acting council president. 4, public comment shall be made only by Lower Saucon Township residents and taxpayers. 5, persons wishing to make comments to the council must put their names on the sign-in sheet to be used by the council president to allocate the available time among those wishing to speak. 6, residents and/or taxpayers of Lower Saucon Township shall announce their name prior to addressing Township Council. 7, public comment may be made only by a resident or taxpayer who has been recognized by the council president. 8, comments about items on the agenda will be limited to no more than 3 minutes per person. 9, the council president or acting council president shall, in his or her sole discretion, be permitted to expand the individual comment period by no more than 2 minutes upon request from the individual. Thereafter, additional time may be allowed only upon motion approved by a majority of council. 10, organized groups of people attending the meeting to present a common position or idea to the council shall designate no more than 2 of the members to speak for that group. 11, no member will be allowed to surrender his or her time to any other person or to call upon other persons for comment. 12, no resident or taxpayer shall obstruct in any way the entrances or exits to the township council meeting room, including the fire hall. 13, the resident or taxpayer shall address township council from the lectern situated in the center of the township council meeting room unless the resident or taxpayer is physically unable to do so. 14, all public comment will be addressed to the township council. Nothing herein shall require any council member to answer questions or engage in debate. 15, members of the audience may not address other members of the audience or argue, speak, or yell back and forth at or to each other. 16, to facilitate the business of the township and to maintain order, there shall be no foul or vulgar language used or gestures made during the meeting. 17, comments should be substantive and not include any defamatory content and/or personal attacks on the integrity of others, whether or not present. 18, letters shall not be read during the public comment unless such letter can be read within the allotted 3-minute time limit for the individual public comment. No extension shall be granted for residents or taxpayers reading a letter during the public comment. Any letter cited or read may be submitted to the township manager. 19, copies of any documents being reviewed or discussed during public comment shall be made available to council. 20, at all times, each attendee at a council meeting shall respect the point of view of others. No comment disagreeing with another's point of view shall involve a personal attack on the character of others with a different viewpoint. 21, any conduct disruptive of the township council meetings and interfering with the business of the township, such as talking when not recognized by the council president or acting council president, talking beyond the allotted time, and/or the use of a cell phone should not be tolerated. 22, the council president or acting council president will rule out of order any speaker or comment which is defamatory, contentious, scandalous, impertinent, redundant, or disruptive to the proceedings of the meeting. 23, if the conduct and order of the Township Council meeting is no longer maintained, the Council President or Acting Council President may recess the meeting to restore order so the business of the Township may be conducted when the meeting resumes. 24, public comment shall not contain personal attacks of any nature directed toward or against any council person, employees of Lower Saucon Township, members of the audience, or any other persons. 25, a period of public comment shall be placed at the end of each agenda for comments related to non-agenda items. The rules and regulations contained herein shall apply to this public comment period as well. 26, the purpose of public comment shall be for residents and taxpayers to comment on matters of concern, official action, or deliberation, which are or may be before the council prior to official action being taken. Council will not respond to comment made during the public portion of the meeting unless it is necessary to ask a clarifying question, correct a factual error, or provide specific information. The purpose of public comment is not for residents or taxpayers to engage in argument or debate with members of council, the administration, or other residents, and the council president shall maintain order in accordance with such purpose. This resolution shall repeal and replace Resolution 31-2022, resolved and adopted this third day of January 2023. Attest Mark Hudson, Township Secretary, Lower Saucon Township, Jason Bononis, Council President. Okay, with that said, we will now begin the public comment agenda items only, residents and taxpayers only, 3-minute time limit. And the first person I have is Sal Gagliano.
Sal Galliano. I refuse to. I'm opposed to this rezoning of 275 acres of land in my neighborhood. I'm furious over this proposal for many reasons. The most important in this preservation of the lands is that they were preserved for a reason. That animals and what are you going to do? It says you can reallocate the land, the area of land. Well, what are you going to do? Relocate all the animals too? And guess where they're going to relocate to? My yard, their yard, your yard. That's not safe. They have an environment in which they're used to, and they forage and clean up. You know, they live there in peace with us. The reason I came to this area is because it was nice, it was quiet, it was clean. I can enjoy nature and I can enjoy my place. I can have others come over and enjoy my place. Now, I don't think anybody's going to want to come here, including tourism. You really think somebody's going to want to come and look at this place with garbage dump, smelling? They want to fish in this river? It's contaminated. Another object that will bring scavengers that'll contaminate the land. I forage off the land at times. Berries, I grow things. Well, where do you think all those contaminants coming from are going to go? Our ground, my water, their water. It's not healthy. You don't provide us water. We have to dig for it. It comes from a well. This proposal will make it very bad for humans and animals. Won't be able to consume much of anything. As you all know, I can't read my own writing, sorry. With a bigger footprint, you get more and more stink, and it smells enough. I came here to raise a family, retire, maybe you'll have some livestock, which I do, but I don't want to let any of it run around now. I really just think this is really bad. It stinks for me, it stinks for you, and it stinks for them. This is not what I came to this town for. This is not what I would say.
Mr. Galliano, your 3 minutes are up. If you could wrap up your ideas.
All right, well, it was basically, I can't get anybody to come over because they don't want to be around the area anymore. They're afraid they're going to go home glowing in the dark.
Okay, thank you. All right, next is Diane Galliano. Diane Galliano.
Hi, I'm Diane Galliano, and we live like downhill from the Petries. And if this happens, this zoning, when it rains like this, all this water comes across the field and down all through our property and even into our basement. And I can't imagine like what might be in this water if the zoning's changed. And who knows like what kind of chemicals might be in there. I hear that there's radioactivity sometimes in there. And I'm familiar with radioactivity. I used to work with it in the lab. And I know that like there's different types. I don't know if it's tritium, C12, C14, or some other kind of radioactivity with different half-lives. And when you look at the half-life of something, that doesn't mean it's gone in that length of time. It's only half gone in that length of time. And then you have to go at that length of time again for another half of it to be gone. And it can just keep going on infinitely. So who knows how long some of these things are going to be in the ground. And then don't forget about like the birds will be coming and rodents will be coming. And we have chickens. And then once in a while you hear about the bird flu coming around, and you have to be careful about your birds in the area. So we have like a lot of concerns if something like this were to happen. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next is Bob Lasko. Bob Lasko.
We'll stand. I'll stand. I may not be able to get back up again if I sit. Okay, two of the largest parcels in the land recently purchased by the landfill are in and have been in conservation easements. Ms. Garber, the landfill's attorney, has argued that the people could not expect that the conservation easements last in perpetuity. Yes, Mrs. Garber, we do. Isn't that the very definition of a conservation easement? At least it is from what I can see on the Commonwealth site involving conservation easements, and I quote, "Conservation easements, a voluntary conservation easement is a legal agreement between a landowner and a land trust or government agency that permanently limits uses of the land in order to protect its conservation values. It allows you to continue to own and use your land as well as sell it or pass it on to heirs." So I decided to look up the word permanently in the dictionary. You know, with the way things are changing in the world, new math and all that, I thought perhaps, maybe, possibly that I was mistaken. But alas, permanently still means just that, permanently. And guess what else? The word permanent and the word perpetuity have some of the same synonyms. Imagine that. Imagine. I looked up conservation. That means a careful preservation and protection of something. And get this, especially planned management of a natural resource to prevent exploitation, destruction, or neglect. So doesn't it become quite plain that we the people can, should, and do expect that the land conservation easements go on in perpetuity? Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Russ Sutton. Russ Sutton.
Russ Sutton, 2133 Saucon Avenue. I'm here for two different reasons. One, for the expansion of the dump again. I'm completely opposed to it. We only get one Earth, and once it's gone, it's gone. We need to preserve our environment, preserve our river, preserve our valleys, and protect our trees. and we're not doing that. Not only that, all the contaminants in that dump, we don't even know what's in that dump. And we don't even know what was put in there before when Bethlehem owned it. So they dump toluene, benzene, 55-gallon drums, radioactive waste, asbestos, you name it, it's in there. So basically, anytime they add to that, when the leachate goes there, all that fluid leaks through that part and goes through all the aquifers and into the river. The Lehigh River is the 7th most polluted river in the United States. I wouldn't eat anything out of there. I wouldn't even swim in there. And think about that. The Lehigh River goes into the Delaware goes in the Delaware Bay, and Philadelphia draws water out of that particular river for drinking water. And I don't know if you know or not, but PFAS, the forever chemicals, build up in your body and cause cancer, all kinds of cancer, kidney cancer, all kinds of problems. And is actually the dump actually monitoring the PFAS that comes out of the leachate? Do they really monitor that? I mean, I don't know, and I don't think anybody else knows either. Also, other than that, I've noticed and I've filmed turkey vultures over the dump, anywhere between 100 to 500 at one time. They can take down a helicopter in 1 second. That's a landing pattern for ABE coming in. They could get sucked in an engine and take down a jetliner. I think it's a major problem, and they haven't done anything to abate the buzzard problem. My next agenda is the cell tower. The cell tower is, I don't want the cell tower. It's going to ruin the view. It's a deciduous forest. It doesn't have leaves 7 months out of the year. And on top of that, it's going to cause drainage problems and interference. And there's also 27 cell towers within a 3-mile radius. So I like to know the need of that, having that cell tower there. And the next thing I want to know too is it obstructs I moved there because the beauty of the forest. I don't want some stupid thing sticking up and ruining my view. And I've been there since '83. I built my own land, my own house there. And I'm very upset about that. And I'm very upset about the dump. They contaminated our water. We had to get city water. Both of them things I'm totally against.
All right, thank you, sir. Next is Joseph Bile. Joseph Bile.
Joseph Beal. Just an observation that I've seen. I've been following the dump to dump and everything that's been going on with it. And obviously there's other people other than us that are against it and agree with the feelings that we have that the dump should not be expanded. And it just a question in my mind is how a council can, of elected officials by us, can try to, in my eyes, circumvent one ordinance with another ordinance to try to continue moving that, what we don't want to happen forward. That's my biggest question.
Okay, thank you. Next is Dominic Albanese. Dominic Albanese. All right, next is Lynn Hill. Lynn Hill.
Hi, I'm Lynn Hill. Every township official should be the trusted gatekeeper of decency and appropriate use of township land and resources, not the vulgar destruction of neighborhoods and forests for a landfill, or for that matter, for an inappropriate placement of a cell tower. We're tired of the propaganda, really tired of the propaganda, and we're not fooled by it, by the gaslighting about the landfill revenue and taxes. It's an insult to our intelligence. If you're not capable of balancing the books without the landfill, then it's obvious we need a new council majority that can responsibly manage this township's finances. You've seen the enormous opposition to this project over the last several months within our township, all these people here, and all the other townships surrounding, except Bethlehem, who That still puzzles me why they're not on board. But it's been demonstrated to you in spades that this is a bad idea. So why are you still thinking of moving forward with it? I mean, haven't you learned yet that this is a project that nobody wants? Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Stacy Mazensky. Stacy Mazensky.
Good evening. Okay, so we have repeatedly told this council the same thing that we've been saying for the last, I don't know, 15 years. The landfill needs to stay in its box. It needs to die in the same box. It needs to stop in the same box. Stop with this landfill expansion. This is not what we want. We've been telling you this for over a decade now. So it could easily be considered a Superfund site as it currently stands right now. When it shuts down, I'm sure it will become a Superfund site, and Rickera will have its day. But right now, we don't want it. We don't want the expansion at all. Also, a cell tower is not something that Steel City needs. There are over, I think there's three cell towers within 1.5 miles of the surrounding area of the proposed cell tower for 4235 Lewis Avenue. There's no reason for it. They don't need any variances for this cell tower because they don't even have an engineered road that's going up to this to support this cell tower. So I don't see where these special exceptions would lie for this individual and this landowner. Also, term limits. Let me get there. Okay, so the voters of the community know exactly what you're up to with these term limits. And we watched you spend our money carelessly with the legal fees for the 2022-02, I don't know what that was, the proposal or vote, with the conditional use hearings. The voter watched council alienate one member of our community that sits on the council who voted for what was right for this community. And I oppose the proposal of placing a term limit on the ballot because it's basically a derivative of a special interest group. And if you bring in inexperienced council members, the costly errors are obviously there. The latest flawed, it was the Lower Saucon Township Ordinance 2022-02. And that's a clear indication of wasteful spending on legal fees for a council that was pushing for obviously a special interest that nobody wants. So I believe that term limits are not in our best interest. I don't believe they should be put on a ballot. We know how to vote. We've been voting for years. We don't need you to tell us how to vote. And we support all of our senior council members who care for our community and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Brian Morrow. Brian Morrow.
Brian Morrow, 4355 Lower Saucon Road. Lived there since 2017. Very fortunate to have a view overlooking the entire Lehigh Valley. Unfortunately, you're going to destroy that view if you move forward with this project. Not only will it increase the truck traffic, which is already horrendous. I live on the turn right at Reddington Road in Lower Saucon. If you ever venture down that way, frequently there's accidents there. One about 3 weeks ago. That truck traffic is going to kill somebody. So please do something smart. Go against it. Listen to your community. Please do the right thing. I had two choices today after I got off work. One, come here, show my concern, express my opposition, or two, go buy my hunting license. First day. I mean, another holiday you chose. But I chose it's time to come here. I can get my license tomorrow. So thank you.
Thank you. Next is Daniel Yanchuk. Daniel Yanchuk.
Hi, everyone. Danielle Yanchuk, Saucon Avenue. I'm here today to express opposition on both the Apple Butter Road rezoning and the cell tower that's proposed for Lewis Ave. In regards to the rezoning of the 275 acres along Apple Butter, we all know this paves the road for expansion of the dump. This is the same issue we've been fighting for the last 7 months and beyond. And guess what? We still don't want it. The second item I'm here to oppose is the application for the Verizon cell tower variances that would permit a 150-foot tower to practically butt up against my property line, which shockingly I only discovered through word of mouth until a little paper from the township showed up in my mailbox last week, giving residents a week's notice to prepare a testimony at the hearing. You've had more than a month since the May meeting to send these notices out, and I don't think that's very fair. I'm told public notices need to be posted on the property, but given that the property is located on a private road with no trespassing signs, I fail to see how the public would see such notices. Now, under normal circumstances, I have zero issue with any property owner doing as they see fit on their property, but that support stops when their intentions encroach upon my livelihood and the health and well-being of my family. At May's council meeting, I brought up my concerns such as potential health risks, losses of property value, stormwater runoff, and erosion problems, among other things. Let's face it, this isn't a pool or a shed we're talking about here. This is a 150-foot radiation-emitting tower, and everyone that lives nearby stands to not only have to look at it every day, but also deal with whatever consequences erupt after it's in place. I also want to emphasize one important thing here. We still have not been shown any proof of need for this tower to be there in the first place. The township's laws require proof for a new tower to be constructed. Now, I've looked to see how many towers already exist in the area. We've got over 2 dozen within a 2-mile radius and nearly 4 dozen within a 3-mile radius. I find it hard to believe that not one of those towers can be co-located with an antenna that would serve the same purpose as the tower proposed here. Now, to be completely transparent, I don't want it at all. It stands against the very reason we moved to Steel City in the first place, and if it goes up, my family will eventually move. But if it has to be there because it's legally permitted, just move it as far away from the neighbors as possible. You've got nearly 11 acres of land to work with, and Verizon's attorney has already admitted that if they don't get variance approval, they'll just apply to stick it somewhere else where variance approval isn't needed. So if there is a location on the property that meets the zoning requirements and it's further away from adjoining property lines, why aren't you putting it there? Stick it further up the mountain. Of course, doing so would incur further costs on your end for mountainside excavation. But guess what? You knew that type of terrain you were dealing with going into this, and that should be your burden, not ours.
Thank you. Next is Bilal Khan. Bilal Khan.
Bilal Khan, 2153 Saucon. I'm also here to speak about 2 things, the cell tower. First, as several people have mentioned already, there are many issues with the cell tower. The fire risk has not been addressed. The road is not an official road. The drainage has not been dealt with. Actually, I would say that we don't even exactly know where the cell tower is proposed to be. I have here the printouts of the documents that you've made available kindly on the website. And if you look at it, I'm really amazed that a billion-dollar company can't produce clear maps that are easy to read. In fact, every map is easy to read except the one that might have had the cell tower on it. You're welcome to look at it. I'm sure that your printouts are as illegible as mine. The other thing I would like to point out here is that the process of public comment is rigged in a way where we have to state what we have to say, then the developers get to speak, and the public has to stay quiet. The only time that the public can speak once the developers have spoken is about non-agenda items. And I'm sure Mr. Bononis would stop us if, for example, in the non-agenda section of the meeting, we were to refer to something that was mentioned by the developers in the agenda section of the meeting. That's clearly like a rigged system. It's not one that's conducive to genuine public feedback, right? And you could fix it. You could fix it like that. You could fix it. Now, about the landfill, rezoning to make room for the landfill. Let me just say, this isn't just about rezoning. It's about changing the text of the zoning requirements. Let's just read one short piece of new text as an example of the intention, right? Here's the new text. If a landfill or waste disposal facility will require land development approval under the Lower Saucon Township Subdivision and Land Development Ordinance and a permit from the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, it is not, my emphasis, subject to the site plan approval process and requirements of this article. So it's not just about rezoning, it's about changing the rules that are needed to be fulfilled to carry out a rezoning. So essentially, you're changing the rules in order to make the outcome happen. And you're doing it in the face of, people not wanting the outcome that you're trying to get. And further evidence that you're not really serious here is about listening to the I request time.
I'll need you to just wrap up your thoughts. We have several other people that need to speak, but you can wrap up your comments.
Okay. If you go through with the cell tower and the rezoning, you can be sure that I will have Lehigh University's environmental engineering department take measurements before the proposed changes happen so that there's a record, since you don't seem to be invested in an oversight process, and you can look forward to lawsuits down the road.
Okay, thank you. Next is Ginger Petrie. Ginger Petrie. One last time, Ginger Petrie.
One last time. Next 100. Excuse me. I used to pride myself on being a kind and respectful person for the most part. I had a distaste for sarcasm. Now, dealing with the lunacy of ruining a beautiful forest, I'm filled with anger, sarcasm, and a fighter spirit. Wow, I need to thank you for giving us a month off before charging at us again with your landfill agenda. Now, after trying to ruin those of us affected by the landfill, you're going to try to ruin Easton Road. When did you decide that this end of the township was junk land? So you're going to send industry our way. Concrete buildings, pollution, all at the same time. Nice. If you think this is progress, why don't you put it in your backyard? I guess it wasn't in your plan book to have so much opposition to your grand scheme with your best friend, the landfill. A big question, though, is how can it be that you got your oh-so-powerful council position through us, and yet your souls were bought by the landfill? What a shame. It's our responsibility, while we are gifted with time on this earth, to take care of it and its creatures, all people, your family, your friends, and even people you fight with now and again. Count. It's our job to guard the welfare of the environment as well. Plants, animals, land, air, and water. We as humans only have a short time on this earth, and the same is true for our animals. The land is a different story. It has housed generations of people, plants, and animals. We need to accept stewardship and take care of it. I don't understand your desire to destroy a large part of it. You are planning to allow a company based thousands of miles away to destroy 275 acres of beautiful forest for only one damn reason: money. Come on. How much do you need? You're going to kill wildlife, destroy soil, pollute air and water, but claim that a pickleball court is a high priority. What are you thinking? Not. Where is the rational brain here? Your decisions are supposed to be about the future and keep a community beautiful, not ruin it. A bigger garbage dump should not be your goal. The destruction it will bring cannot be reversed. If you don't want to fight with hundreds of passionate residents and every other affected group of people that are going to join against your plan, drop the expansion. Make the landfill come up to speed on new and better technology. Work to improve, not pile trash wider.
Thank you. Next is Bruce Petrie. Bruce Petrie. And also have the record reflect that Tom Carochi arrived at 7:02 p.m.
Bruce Petrie, Redington Road. So I'm looking at the township business items number B. Discussion and possible authorization to prepare ordinance for council's review. Zoning map and text amendments. The potential map amendments would be in the area north of Apple Butter Road east of Seal City, south of the Lehigh River, and west of the Route 3378 intersection from rural agricultural to light industrial. The potential text amendments may include allowing landfills and waste disposal facilities as a permitted, conditional, or special exception use, site plan requirements for uses that require land development approval, and a natural resource mitigation alternative. The potential ordinance could contain similar or revised amendments to the zoning map and text as contained in the former ordinance 2022-02, which is available on board docs and the township website. I just have one question. I wonder who wrote this. Wait a minute. Oh my God, it stinks. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Next is Michael Remeliotis. And I apologize if I didn't say your last name correctly. Thank you.
I wanted to speak to the public here because when the information flowing back and forth with regard to the landfill, I looked up to see how much revenue the township gets from the landfill. $2.2 million, correct?
So this is your opportunity to make comments, not for back and forth with council.
I'm just saying, if the landfill can't work, where is the money going to come from? Raising taxes? The other thing is that we're looking at some properties along the I-378 corridor to develop, and it's a hodgepodge of property off the road. So the question is, how is this going to work? Now, I don't live right up to the edge of the road, but I live in the Manor Township, Manor subdivision. I feel sorry for my neighbors that are parallel to 378. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next is Steve, and the last name begins with a G, but I can't read the rest of the name. Okay. Mr. Gatsuzia, thank you. All right, next is Matt McLaren.
Matt McLaren, 2198 Riverside Drive. I just have a couple questions for council. I want to think ahead here a little bit, and I hope you do too. My first question would be, I don't believe that the first rezoning for the landfill is settled as far as the appeal, with the landfill appealing it. So I would suggest everybody pump the brakes. And why are we even discussing this now, wasting more money potentially, going through the whole thing again until that case is settled? My number two thing is, are we guaranteed, since we spent so much money the first go around, that the ordinance is going to be written correct the second time around? That way we don't have to go through this again for another, 2-3 years. Obviously my next concern is, as you're aware, throughout all this, we have St. Luke's, Bethlehem Township, some big money that's now on the opposite side of this, and I want to make sure, the outcome of this, that our council members are on the right side and they follow our ordinances and can answer these questions in these ordinances as far as rezoning goes, conditional uses. Both of these decisions here tonight can end up in conditional use hearings, and there's a certain set of guidelines that you must follow as far as these questions. So I would like for each council member right now to basically answer these questions and see if either of these proposals, either the cell tower or the landfill, will be consistent with these set of general rules for conditional uses. I'm going to read them out now, and I'd like to hear it from you whether these are going to be consistent.
Mr. McLaren, just to be clear, you can ask whatever questions you, hold on, sir.
Yep.
You can ask whatever questions you want to ask. It's not for council to respond to your questions necessarily. So feel free to ask what you want, but
there's a lot of money on the line as far as lawsuits and everything else for the next 10 years. So if you're not willing to back up the decisions you make with actual facts and information out of the zoning code, then don't make the decision to begin with, is what I'm getting at. So in accordance with Lower Saucon Township Comprehensive Plan and consistent with the spirit, purpose, and the intent of this chapter. Now you read about the spirit of Lower Saucon Township, and I don't think anywhere in there it has to do with industrial uses. Not quite a bit. It has to do with preservation and conservation. I'm gonna get through these quick. In the best interest of the municipality, the convenience of the community, the public welfare, and be a substantial improvement to the property in the immediate vicinity. So either of these changes, substantial improvement to the properties in the immediate vicinities. I mean, I don't know about the cell tower, but that's definitely not. I don't know about the landfill, but that's not either. I just have a request to finish this last one. That's it.
Your time's up, but I will give you more time to wrap up your thoughts.
Suitable for the property in question and designed, constructed, operated, maintained so as it to be harmony with and appropriate in appearance to the existing or intended character of the general vicinity. So I think that the landfill, obviously there's conservation easements there. If that's not the intended character of what's there, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. So unless you could put money on it, I don't understand why we're wasting our time, because I guarantee you with the money on the opposite side.
All right, Mr. McLaren, you've used up your time. Thank you. Next is Frank Palumbo. Frank Palumbo. Frank Palumbo.
It's hard to hear the name, so if you can just wait till the clap stop, because I wasn't sure I exactly heard my name there. So I'm here once again, and it seems like Groundhog Day. There's been so much opposition against this landfill expansion. I'm not going to regurgitate what you guys have heard. You clearly don't give two craps about it. But as you know, we will fight this, and we will continue to fight this, and we will vote the appropriate people out of the office. I ask again, who does this council work for? Us, the voters, the taxpayers, or the corporations? Simple question. And I know who you're supposed to work for, but you don't act at all like in the best interests of the residents here. I'm extremely frustrated, annoyed, and disturbed, as I'm sure these people are, because they'd rather probably be at home doing other things, including myself. You guys don't want to hear this grief every day that we have a council meeting. You limit us on by 3 minutes to try to oppress our vote. But guess what? You're not going to oppress our vote, because we're a very strong organization. We're grassroots. We got a lot of other people and organizations behind us. And all I hear is people in opposition. I have never seen one single person, at least at the meetings I've been to, for this expansion. So somebody correct me, and I know you guys won't answer squat. And these guys come to probably just as many meetings as I do, if not more. I have never seen somebody here saying, yeah, go for that dump, expand that dump. Nobody, crickets. And I remember somebody saying about the rezoning on Easton Road. Oh, we've had people come to us. Yet the day the Easton Road people came up here in opposition of that, all I heard again was probably about 30 to 50 people were against this. I didn't hear one single person for it. So again, who does this council work for? Developers or the taxpayers? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next is Jackie Palumbo. Jackie Palumbo.
My name's Jackie Palumbo, 2566 Kings Mill Road. A little over 6 months ago, I stood here and I asked the question, why is garbage good for me? I still haven't heard an answer. I'm sure all the people here with me are wondering the same thing. So if it would be possible, I would like some type of presentation on how expanding this landfill is going to benefit me and my neighbors, how it's going to make our life better and enrich us. So if that would be possible, or if I need to do it in a different manner, please let me know and I will submit that request. The other question I have is, I've been living here 17, 18 years, and the thought of having term limits never came up. It was never a problem. All of a sudden, term limits come up, and it comes to the time when the dump wants to rezone. So I don't think it's term limits we need to really think about. I think it's votes of no confidence, because people voted you in here for our interests, not the dump, not another corporation. It's to protect us. The zoning is to protect us and our environment. And you're supposed to protect us. You're not protecting us. I was there on the 22nd of December when there were over 100 people saying how they did not want this to happen. And we actually won the case. And here we are again. And now you're trying to do it again. People came out and we told you we do not want this. I don't know what you understand or don't understand, why you keep pushing this through. If this is something that is so good for us that you need to do it against our wishes, then I need you to tell me that and show me how this, even though I feel it is against my best interest, you feel it will benefit me. I would like to hear that. But another thing, vote of no confidence. I think maybe we should start looking at that. Maybe we should also put on a referendum if we want the landfill. Maybe about the library, maybe about the pool, maybe about the compost center, all those things. Shouldn't it be up to us? You're supposed to represent us. You're not representing us. I'm not really sure who you're representing, but I wish you would think about it, because we live here together. I guess maybe you're just planning on moving once you push this through. I don't know. But please think about what you're doing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is Janie Hecker. Janie Hecker.
That seemed like a long walk. Okay, I'm here to address Township Business Item C, discussion and possible authorization to prepare ordinance for council's review for potential zoning map amendments for the area east of Route 378 and north of Colesville Road from R40, which is residential, to general business. I'm having a little trouble understanding how that piece of land would ever work for general business. First of all, from my understanding, the zoning of that land is coming out of a study that was done in 2014. That's a while ago. So I don't know what's been done to update your knowledge about that piece of land. It's 9 acres. There's already a portion, not in the 9 acres, but there's already a portion that's already zoned for business. And that's where the bank is. The rest of it just is behind my property and going north, behind the property of many people who live in the Saucon Lane development. I'm going to name a couple things that I think need to be considered before anybody considers doing much with the property. Since I live there, I have an intimate knowledge of this. There's a sinkhole on that property. I don't know that anybody but my family really knows that, but it's behind my house. The other thing is we have water running on that property, which really kind of does its own thing as water does and creates a major problem on Colesville Road. I actually took some pictures coming down here of what's happened after the rainstorm that we just had this afternoon. There's been a lot of work done to try to direct that water because of the new development across the road, the old Saucon development. They've tried it twice. They've come in and they put in a culvert and so forth. Isn't working. Nothing's been done to ease the problem yet. So that would be something we'd have to deal with. I-78 passes over a great portion of that property. I don't know how that would affect trying to put anything else there. Any additional building on the land would obviously put a burden on Route 378 traffic, as well as needed to improve Colesville Road. Traffic is bad at certain times of the day on 378, and this would make it worse, I believe. It would create a need. The need is already there, but it would create more of a need for a traffic light at 378 in Colesville Road, which many of you know is a terrible intersection. If you live on Colesville Road and you want to go north, you can turn at the bank and go north. You cannot go south half the time unless you take your life in your hands. The homes in the Saucon Lane development number at least 50. And if the land is commercially developed, it will affect the quality of the life of the people who live in those homes. And potentially, I believe it would decrease their property values as well. They have a lovely wooded area that they overlook. I think we need to save some woods. We lost an awful lot of it in that old Saucon development. I know that's Upper Saucon, and I guess I'm not allowed to care about Upper Saucon, but we lost a lot of woods there, and I hate to lose more. So we lose a lot of wooded area.
Ms. Ecker, your time's up, but if you could wrap up your thoughts, please.
I'm pretty much wrapped up, but I thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, next is Mark Ozimick. Mark Ozimick.
What, no table? Well, I'm back again. You know what? Is to answer your question, Mr. Treadwell, was it enough to shut me up? No, it wasn't, because I won't shut up. I heard you the other last meeting. So here I am again, dealing with bull crap. Does this make you happy? Oh, I forgot to do something. Hello, Susan Blair. I hope you're out there in YouTube land watching this so that you can get a glimpse of what goes on for the people that want you on council with them, so they can use you for a rubber stamp. Anyway, several topics. The Upper Saucon library deal. They just keep.
So the
dragging it
library's
out.
not on the agenda, sir. If you want to speak on that topic on the non-agenda, you're more than welcome to. We're on the agenda items right now.
Oh, well, and I guess that leaves out number 2. And the rezoning of west of 78 and 33. I guess that means my house, Reddington Road, all the way down to the scrapyard or the Narrows. Light industrial. You could change it if you want. It's not going to do anything to me. It might benefit me for when a business does want to come, because I'm not selling out cheap. By you doing that, you might give me the chance to make myself rich. Then I'd have money to sue you. Because I'm not moving, just like I told the people on Easton Road. The ball's in your court. People want to come, they want to put up a building. You know what, Tom? You hold out and be the last guy for that driveway they need to put in. You don't give up, you don't move, and you make them pay through the nose. There's 2 ways to fight this battle. You guys should just shut up and go home. Forget the landfill, because one day maybe the landfill will be at your house. So, according to another agenda item, Mark made a comment about the Steel City Playground looking like a jail with a fence around it. It's only a 4-foot fence. It's not very high. A jail has a bigger fence with razor wire, usually 2. Well, you can go down Graterford and visit. Or Western. Actually, they don't have one. Maybe they do. I don't know. Might have changed over the years. I know I've seen the inside of several of them, and that's what you people need to see, the inside of a couple jails.
Mr. Ozimick, your time is up.
I should request my next 2 minutes.
Mr. Ozimick, your time is up.
Oh, you don't want to let the board vote on my next 2 minutes?
All right, Mr. Ozimick.
Yeah.
You know what? While you're here, let me ask you some questions. You can stay at the microphone. I want to ask you a question, Mr. Ozimick.
It's a 2-way street. Now you want to ask me questions?
Well, I'm trying to understand what you're saying so I can ask you for clarification. Let me ask you something, Mr. Ozimick. Somebody shared with me a post, and there's a name on it, and it says Mark Ozimick. And I'm going to read the post so the public can hear some of the things.
Well, you know
and here's what it says, sir.
Go ahead, read it.
Look what I got in the mail today. The crooked team of Jason Bononis and friends. So when looking at this, I find it a big joke. Upon flipping the two-faced card over, you see the statements obviously approved by the ASS. I'm not going to say the word because this is being streamed their children here. Team about a rhino. Well, for you, your FUCK, I'm not going to say that word as well, information, you got the wrong pictures on the wrong side of the card. Jason Bononis, you FUCK piece of shit. Excuse me. Everything on that card is an outright lie. Like I told you to your FUCK-ING face. You're the FUCK rhino, Republican in name only. Jason Bononis, the PCASHI acting like the PCASHIT in which you want to stack the local councils, all of them, EAC and the landfill committee. You couldn't even let your assignee attend. And to think of how you lied to all the people on the eastern side of the township, then let the landfill pay your election campaign fees. Your FUCK scumbag, scum, you piece ASHI. You don't care about anything or anyone except what you want. F you, your rich friend. Sir, sir, I'm speaking now and I'm not yielding the floor to you. So please stand down. FK, your rich friend and their clubhouses. FUCK, your dump, because that's exactly what you say about the residents eastern side and Steel City of Lower Saucon Township. And it goes on and on.
That's
So,
right.
so did you?
I wrote it.
Okay.
And I meant every word of it when I wrote it. And you
So
know what? I
my-
speak for everybody out here that's afraid to open their mouth like I do.
All right.
Because
So my
most
question-
of them want to, but they won't.
You answered my question. My other question for you is, do you think when you post comments like that, that it somehow enhances your credibility and you're going to gain greater influence from us today by standing up here?
I'm not here to influence you. I'm here for Susan Blair to get a taste of what you guys are doing. Maybe she'll see what she runs up against with all the crap that you're pulling.
Sir, you
You
answered my
screwed the
question.
kids out of a library. You want to expand the dump. It just never ends.
Thank you, sir. You
Thanks
answered my
for reading
questions.
that. I'm glad you read that in public.
I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your clarification. Next up is Laura Ray. Laura Ray.
All right, so that's an act to follow. So I have a lot of topics to talk about because there's so many things on this agenda and it's hard to make comments in 3 minutes, but I want to talk about township business items A through E. So 5A, the cell phone tower in Steel City. Just want to go on record again that I oppose the variances that are being requested for this plan. I find it very disconcerting that the EAC was not given any opportunity to weigh in on this plan, since our last 2 meetings have been canceled due to lack of business. The council, at the very least, should not send over a letter of support for the variances to the zoning hearing board. The guise of saving some trees, as was mentioned last time, as reasoning for one of the variances is absurd, given the fact that a logging application had already been submitted for the same property before the last council meeting, and I'm sure you were all quite aware of that. So I would say there's some banana noses for that topic. For 5B, we all still oppose this. This is the rezoning for the map and the text changes for the benefit of the landfill. It's a total disgrace. The lack of empathy that's shown to all of the residents and surrounding communities who have expressed their concern about the negative impacts truly shows that you're not sitting up there to represent your residents. The recent $10.3 billion settlement by 3M for PFAS contamination in water supplies should at the very least give you some reason to pause and wonder if something similar like that could happen here, because it could. 5C, the zoning changes on 378 is here again due to the rushed and sloppy work before, because we already had that on the agenda before. Errors were made in the submission, and now we have to incur the cost again to redo here. So some more amount of wasted taxpayer dollars. For 5D, it seems like we want to make it easier for underground storage tanks in carbonate geology. Why do we need this change? We should retain all of our township rights to have our protections on these. I think this is regarding the Sheets gas station that's proposed for 378. And again, this is another thing that the EAC has never been provided an opportunity to review or comment on. And I did mention that before. And for 5E, this is for the referendum. It seems very unnecessary to have a voter referendum on this topic.
Okay, your time's up. If you could
Voters-
wrap up this thought, please.
I'm going to finish. Voters have the power in every election to remove those they feel should not be in office. With a scarcity of viable candidates at all local levels, I think
Okay,
this
Ms.
could
Ray, your
cause
time's up. This isn't
problems
time for a campaign speech, okay? You've spoken in
by
3 minutes. Thank you.
eliminating experienced candidates. For a board who
Ms.
likes
Ray,
to
your
point
time
out
is up.
people being
Please stand
political,
down.
please
Officer,
look in the mirror for this
officer,
item.
please.
Please
Thank you.
remove me.
Next is Chris Gurrow. Chris Gurrow.
Chris Gurrow, Hellertown. You don't need my address, right?
Oh, just, you go ahead. Go ahead, ma'am. Thank you.
First, I want to say Laura's always vilified Laura Ray for being a candidate to try and make this township a better place. And she has dedicated the last 30 years of her life to volunteering for this township, not getting a dime. I mean, all through JC's, breakfast with Easter bunnies, Santa's.
Ma'am, is this an agenda item that you're speaking to?
No.
Okay, with this, we're on agenda items, okay? So let's focus on
couldn't help
agenda.
it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. We love you, Mark. Also, I want to be on the record for saying that I am against term limits. I want to be able to vote for who I want to vote for. I want to be on the record to say I stand with the citizens of Steel City who are fighting this cell tower. Regarding the landfill, it's been called by experts an environmental crime. I hope whoever can do something about that is listening and can read that information. An environmental crime. And I would like to say that so often it's said that these groups represent the vocal few from the township. Well, I'd like to say that there's a lot of people like me who find it very hard to speak in public. And there's so many more people like me. And so I would like to say thank you to all these people who get up and speak for people like me. I really appreciate it. Keep doing it. We're going to win.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Next is Kathy Pitchell-McGovern. Kathy Pitchell-McGovern.
I'm requesting an extra 2 minutes because I want to talk about
Denied.
BD&E. Was that nice? That's crazy. What's changed from the last time we were here with the landfill? On April 30th, 2023, Lehigh River named one of America's most endangered rivers. Same day, Lehigh Valley air quality is still among worst in Pennsylvania due to the fact that we live in a valley with it's the diesel trucks that are causing the problem. June 16th, toxic chemicals found in Emmaus water can cause at least $24 million to fix. The Pennsylvania Health Department, if you look at Northampton County statistics, there are 15 markers that we follow for cancer. 5 of those markers are higher than the rest of the state. 1/3, that 5 of 15 is 1/3. We are, for generic male and generic female, we are one of the highest in the state of Pennsylvania, Northampton County. I don't approve the term limits. We have a primary, we have an election process, we vote. We do have term limits. They're 4 years. And I hope you have the ability to tell the public what the underground storage tanks are for.
Okay, thank you. Next is Tim Murphy. Tim Murphy.
Hi, Tim Murphy, 456 Birch Road, Hellertown. I just, I've been up here before, but I'm just here to voice my opposition to the expansion of the landfill. As far as the cell tower goes, I think that should kind of be a discussion between you guys and the people in Steel City that are, directly affected, because it's way out of my view. since the expansion of the landfill came up, I've had an opportunity to kind of visit some of the adjacent property that's out there and walk along that property. Very nice property. I didn't realize it was that nice for years, but very nice. And maybe they can see just a hint of the landfill, and the expansion is going to bring that landfill in plain view of this really pristine property. And then the other thing was it looking at the map, and I think I've mentioned this before, the way it's going to encroach on that Bull Run Creek, I think it's going to do damage as far as the leachate leaking into it. And I know it's going to go a lot closer to the Lehigh River. And the Lehigh River is a tributary to the Delaware. Delaware gives drinking water to a lot of cities, Philadelphia being one of them, and Bucks County, lots of Bucks County, New Hope, Farmington, a lot of different towns down that way. So again, and then I just keep on remembering that one meeting we had over at the other hall where that one younger gal said she and her family moved out there and built a really nice house, under the plans of like having a nice house, raising her kids there. And all of a sudden she's going to have to look at the landfill. And I think you guys got to take that into serious consideration before you allow that expansion. And then also, there has to be like a review of all the environmental impacts that are going to occur because it's pretty nice out there. And again, obviously you have to monitor what the quality of the river is now, and then obviously monitor as the landfill expands, because I think they've had problems out there before in controlling some of that, the groundwater leaching into people's wells, I think, and just the leachate getting out of there. So I think there has to be a really comprehensive review done in order to corral all that stuff that's generated just from the stuff. And I mean, all of us put stuff in the landfill. So, but it's pretty obvious that a lot of people, and the ones directly affected, adjacent, their property adjacent to it, are against it. And there's a lot of us others against it. So, and that's basically what I got to say.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next is Dave Boulan. Dave Boulan.
Dave Boulan, Alice Drive. No, I didn't prepare any speech, and I am not running for office. Thank you. I allowed you to speak on.
Mr. Ozimic, please don't interject when others are speaking. Thank you.
Okay. What I really wanted to ask was nothing to do per se with a landfill. Although I would tell you, I live over on Alice Drive, and a lot of the residents there that I talk to, what landfill? All right. So I understand you people built or live or have property near it. No doubt about it. I'm not sure I would want to live there, but then again, I wouldn't buy a house there. And if I knew it was zoned for that potential.
Folks, you all had the opportunity to speak uninterrupted. Folks in the crowd weren't shouting out at you, so allow Mr. Boulan to speak what he has to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
I wouldn't have bought there in the beginning. And by the way, yes, I've been on zoning boards in New Jersey. And yes, I see people moving in from New York and hating farmers who get up at 6 a.m. to do their farming. God, we can't have this. So yeah, I've been there and done that. What I was wanting to ask, and I'm not sure whether it's this piece of public or the end, okay, was something that I brought up last time at the very end. And that was conflict of interest by one of the board members speaking out about a cell tower. And I want to know, I'd like some kind of thought or opinion if that's appropriate or not. That's all I'm asking, because if that's the case, then somebody shouldn't be doing what they're doing. That's all. Deal.
Thank you, Mr. Boulan. All right, I believe that concludes our public comment agenda items only for residents and taxpayers. We're now.
So the township has received approximately $40 million from the landfill since about 1999. So yeah, taxes would have to go up eventually. Okay, that's just I'm not getting a discussion. I'm just giving my comments. It's not. Yeah, fine. Okay, fine.
Sir, this isn't back
This
and
isn't
forth.
back and
This is
forth,
just
like I
an
said.
opportunity for Mr. Carochi to address.
To the Lehigh University, whatever it was, loud. On January 26th of this year, Lehigh University took material to the dump, the Bethlehem landfill. And the landfill had to contact the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection to be able to accept the material that Lehigh University sent them. The Pennsylvania DEP granted them the ability to accept that material. And Lehigh, it's not. Lehigh, so what they did, they disposed, Lehigh University disposed of asbestos-containing material. The DEP, the Pennsylvania DEP let them do that at the Bethlehem landfill. So let's not talk about Lehigh University having clean hands. That's ridiculous. Now, the next thing. The Pennsylvania DEP just this year granted the Bethlehem landfill realignment, allowing them to continue. So I think if there's any environmental crimes going on up there or anything that Ms. McGovern alluded to, the DEP, the Department of Environmental Protection, wouldn't have allowed them to get the realignment. And then the last one, somebody said Laura Ray's never took anything from the township. I think she took about $200,000 for a property from the township a number of years ago. So she took $200,000 of township dollars.
Folks, we're not doing this. Let me be clear.
Tom,
hold on. Folks, we're not doing this. You had your opportunity to speak uninterrupted. I'm going to make a motion to adjourn for 5 minutes until the meeting's motion to go into recess for 5 minutes until the crowd calms themselves down and can conduct themselves in accordance with our rules. All right, second, we'll take the roll. Motion for a recess so the crowd can calm down.
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Carochi, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote? No. Mr. Engels, how do you vote? Yes. Ms. Yerger, how do you vote? Motion passes.
We will reconvene at 7:50.
I said, what? I can express myself just fine.
Thanks.
Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy. You're a bit dumb in the head.
No. Attention, please. We are. Your fearless leader just took the police officer outside. Oh, you fat. Probably went to call for help. Thank you for your time.
While we're sitting here making our comments, sometimes we I see all that.
All right, folks, we're calling back to order the council meeting. It's now 7:55. The council meeting is back in session. I'll make a motion to reconvene the council meeting. Do I have a second? Second by Mark. Mark, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Carochi? Yes or no?
Yes or no, Tom? Yes to reconvene.
Ms. DeLeon? Mr. Engels?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis?
Yes.
Motion passes 4.
Thank you, Mark. All right, we're now at presentations, hearings, and ordinances resolutions. We have a number of resolutions honoring various entities in and around the community. We have Resolution 49-2023, honoring Braveheart Highland Pub, Resolution 50-2023, honoring Brooklyn's Catering, Resolution 51-2023, honoring Unrivaled Nutrition and Training, Resolution 52-2023, honoring Salon Mia, Resolution 53-2023, honoring Saucon Valley Farmers Market. So these resolutions were presented at the Honors and Hors d'oeuvres Awards ceremony event hosted by the Hellertown Lower Saucon Chamber of Commerce. The event is dedicated to celebrating and honoring local businesses and nonprofits who have given back to the community over the last year. The 5 awards presented were the Community Partner Award. This award goes to the person or business who lives the word community with consistency, professionalism, and integrity. This person or business can be counted on to promote the sense of community in our area, modeling ways to make a positive impact without regard to their own needs. The winner of that is Bobby Gianguzzi, owner of Brooklyn's Catering and co-owner of Springtown Inn. There's also the Champion Nonprofit Award. The Champion Nonprofit Award is awarded to the nonprofit organization in our community that always finds a way to win. They consistently set and achieve goals for themselves that cause them to stretch and grow, causing those around them to grow with them. They know that the only way to fail is to quit, and the Champion Nonprofit never quits. They move forward despite the adversity that presents itself whenever doing something truly matters. They are champions, and when they win, we all win. The winner of that award is the Saucon Valley Farmers Market. Then there's a Small Business Leadership Award. This honor is granted to a business that has demonstrated integrity in everyday management and in reaction to challenging circumstances, a business known for its character and ethics as much as for its duration of operation. They'll be honored for displaying excellence that permeates the community infrastructure. The winner of that is the Braveheart Highland Pub. The Business to Watch Award. This recognition honors a business that began no more than 2 years ago. Its business approach ensures that it's well on its way. The winner of that is Unrivaled Nutrition and Training. And then there's the Positive Impact Award. We're going to pause the meeting while we clean up the water that came in from the storm.
This is funny.
Job he can handle, mopping the floor. Hey, your counsel at work.
A kangaroo court. Banana Republic. It's amazing.
It's pouring outside. It's pouring. They just issued a flash flood warning for the area. You think we got it yet? I don't think so.
There's absolutely nothing.
I do like to be correct, but I'm not who I am.
Why does this remind me?
We'll get to the agenda. We started this, we're finishing tonight. Yeah, she should. In fact, stop raining, go on, get it right back. Get me the bottle.
You better not do too good a
All right, we'll get there. We'll get it. All right, thanks. Thanks for coming.
Yes, it is.
I think most of the people here who got the office, so because that's the main reason why they give up what they normally do and take up this one. Well, have you looked at the horizon sort of plan? And how would you imagine that a citizen would make an intelligible comment when faced with unintelligible documents? How do you imagine that that intelligence would come about? Yeah. They have that moment reflects the sentiment the moment that they can the box or they can just, shirk that responsibility and, pretend that they have no obligation. Right? Yeah.
No, my bad side's my good side's my bad side.
Yeah. All right, folks, we're going to proceed with the meeting. I think our rain delay is over. So I guess we should have a motion to reconvene the meeting. I'll make that motion. Do we have a second? Sandy, second.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote? Reconvene the meeting. Mr. Angles, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, so I believe where I left off was the Positive Impact Award. This recognition honors an organization and business that positively contributes to the Hellertown Lower Saucon area, working with the business community and community members to bring them together for the needs of the community and ways to manage unity and growth. The winner of that award is Salon Mia. So I will make a motion to approve resolutions 49, 50, 51, 52, and 53, 2023, honoring Braveheart Highland Pub, Brooklyn's Catering, Unrivaled Nutrition and Training, Salon Mia, Saucon Valley Farmers Market, respectively.
And I'll second that.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote? Yes. Mr. Yerger, how do you vote? Yes. Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the Cinco lot line change, lot line 01-2023 at 1603 and 1611 Hafler Road. Sir, if you could just identify yourself for the record.
Okay. I'm Doug Harwick. I'm with Keystone Consulting Engineers. I'm representing a lot line change plan between the properties located at 1603 and 1611 Hafler Road. Both lots currently contain single-family homes. The intent is to adjust the lot line between the properties, transferring 0.72 acres of land from 1603 to 1611 Hafler Road. The proposed lot line geometry will generally conform with the existing driveway servicing 1603 Hafler Road. We are requesting waivers for the identification of existing features within 500 feet of the property, the identification of the approximate age of all existing buildings and trees, the requirement that lots shall be square or generally rectangular in shape, and the requirement that the depth of residential lots shall not normally be less than 1 times their width. We understand and we will comply with all comments contained within the most recent review comment letter dated June 15th, 2023. And today we are seeking conditional plan approval. If we are granted conditional approval, all lot pins and monuments will be set as proposed on the plan, and descriptions will be prepared and provided for review.
All right, thank you. Any questions from council?
Yeah, I have a question. Okay, so we're doing this. Is there any reason, like what the plans are for these lots?
Now they're just going to remain single family. The applicant just wants to shift the property line to put a barn on the other property.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Brian, do you have anything to add?
No, the plan council's seeing tonight represents 1 or 2 iterations of changes between Doug and myself over the last few months. So the plan was cleaned up, alternate sewage testing was done, and it is ready for approval.
All right, I'll make a motion then to approve the application for the line lot adjustment between the existing lots at 1603 and 1611 Hafler Road, and providing the 4 waivers requested subject to the conditions in the Township Engineer's June 15, 2023. Oh, there it is. Thank you. To approve the draft motion that's contained in the council packet.
I'll second it.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, next we have developer item Beethoven Waldheim Club, 1991 Waldheim Road, request for waiver of land development. Council will review the request from the Beethoven Waldheim Club for a waiver of land development for the construction of a 9,960 square foot accessory structure. Council, just identify yourself for the record.
My name is Steve Katsuzian. I'm the attorney for the applicant. Dominic Albanese, owner of the property.
Go ahead, Mr. Katsuzian.
This is what we believe to be a straightforward waiver of the
land development request. It's the use of an accessory, or it's the establishment of an accessory pool building for an existing use. It's already gone through planning commission, who voted 4-0 to allow it to move forward with the waiver. You have a plan in front of you that indicates where it would be. The use remains, and it's simply an accessory use for it.
Anything else? Nope.
No, thank you.
All right, anything from council? Brian?
No, we did review it through the grading plan process, so it did undergo an engineering review.
Great, thank you. I'll make a motion then to approve the Beethoven Walltime Club's waiver request for the construction of a 9,960 square foot accessory structure.
I'll second it.
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote? Yes. Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next on the agenda is Township Business Item Zoning Hearing Board Application Variance 02-23. What is that beeping sound? Mr. Ozimic, if your phone continues to beep, could you turn it off? All right, we'll proceed. Zoning Hearing Board Application Variance 02-23 for 4235 Lewis Avenue, installation of a cell tower. Council review, this was before council at our last meeting. We had asked for some additional information, and I'm sure you're here to provide more information.
Yes, Kate Durso, Fitzpatrick, Lentz and Buba. We were asked last time to respond to 3 different things. The first was whether our list of property owners for notice was accurate. We worked with the zoning officer. He confirmed that the list was accurate. The only thing was that there was not a property address issued for the water tank property. So he had them issue an address for them, but the mailing address and everything else were all accurate. And obviously he has since sent out the public notices.
Is the water tank address the water authority?
It is owned by the water authority, yes. He said that technically it didn't have a mailing address, so he got them to issue a mailing address for it.
It's owned by the township. The water authority, I guess, leases it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I thought that's the property we're talking about, yes.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Yes. The second question that was asked of us was whether we knew of the status of Randolph Avenue. We went back and got a copy of the property owner's plan that was approved in 2004 and was recorded in 2005. At that time, the township appears to have made a determination that since Randolph Avenue was an unopened road, that the property owners of both sides of the road obtained title to the respective 1/2. Since Randolph had a 50-foot wide unopened right-of-way, the property owners acquired an additional 25 feet along their frontage. Our cell tower plan did not take credit for that half of the road, so that results in the tower setback to the northern property line being increased 25 feet. So we had originally asked for a setback to allow this tower to be 79 feet. It would then be 104 feet to that property line. We also were asked to look into the status of the stormwater and ENS controls of the property owner going back to when that plan was approved. We received copies of the stormwater and ENS controls, basically an ENS plan that the property owner had submitted at that time, which was reviewed and approved by the township. And back in, again, 2004, we're going almost on 20 years. The improvements as set forth on that plan, as far as we can tell, and has been approved by the township, were installed. When he got his approvals back in 2004, it was to allow for the consolidation of those tracts. There was a number of lots. He had to get zoning hearing board approval. He also had to get approval for his development. It's part of that approval was the access off of Lewis Avenue. And that is the existing access that exists there today and is the access that the cell towers propose to use as well, since it is a legally authorized access driveway off of Lewis Avenue. As far as the improvements from a stormwater perspective for the wireless communication facility, we would be required to get site plan submission as part of the conditional use and would be required to meet whatever requirements apply as it relates to that. We would envision that stormwater controls that would have to be installed as a result of the wireless communication facility would include some kind of type of infiltration swale, trench, rain garden, or something like that, obviously subject to the township engineer's review. Since we have not yet received the variances nor submitted for the conditional use request yet, we have not submitted the site plan as required by the ordinance. Just to note, somebody in the audience mentioned something about why the plan did not go for EAC review. That would not be something that would happen since we only submitted for zoning hearing board approval. Another comment that was made was that we had submitted maps that were illegible. That is not accurate, that we submitted signed and sealed surveyed plans to the township. There was also an issue related to a concern with public notice. When we were here last before council, we did advise everyone that at that point in time, the zoning hearing was actually going to occur this evening. And then that date got changed to Thursday just because the council meeting got changed. But there was no surprise. The residents were here and we specifically advised that we were scheduled at that point in time to go to the zoning hearing board which would be today, 26th. And I think those were the items that were specifically asked of us to come back and address.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you investigating that and providing that information. As I recall from the last meeting, I believe there was testimony that the reason for the need for this cell tower is that there's a dead area along Riverside. And as a result of that, there is incomplete emergency services coverage in that area. Is that correct?
That is correct. And as we would normally do when it comes time for a public hearing to occur, we will have a radio frequency engineer who will provide expert testimony to confirm the need for the site. Verizon would not be spending substantial sums of money to erect a facility to which they did not think they needed it to provide coverage.
And just to be clear, the location that you selected here, that was the most ideal location for this tower based upon all of the data, the radio frequency evaluations, and coverages that you evaluated, correct?
Yeah, the property itself, certainly. The location on the property we thought was in the best interest because it minimized the amount of land disturbance and tree removal. And we did say when we were here last that otherwise we could locate it elsewhere on the site and meet the setback requirements, but it would obviously entail having to remove additional trees. And if that is something that they want us to proceed with, we would proceed in that manner.
So that it's very clear, and I think I understand this. As a matter of right, this property owner could put a cell phone tower on his property and not get any relief from us. But in this situation, you're requesting relief because the location that you intend to put this cell phone tower is the least harmful to the existing forest that's there, would require cutting down less trees, require creating less roadway to get access to the tower, and less earth disturbance altogether, correct?
That would be correct. We wouldn't need any zoning variances. We would still need conditional use approval under either circumstance.
Right, I understand that. Okay. Do you have anything else?
We have nothing else to present.
Okay. Priscilla, go ahead.
Okay, so you were here, I don't know, however many weeks ago, and we talked a lot about trees. I found it very interesting that several days later, I was advised that Rocky Vecito and the Gonzalez property applied for a timbering.
That is correct.
Application.
That is correct. And they're
as a-
not clear cutting. They are removing
I
trees.
understand, but
Mhm.
they're removing trees. And that wasn't the impression I got from your presentation for the cell tower, trying to save trees.
We, for the cell tower, are trying to save trees. And the permit that was sought by, I believe it's an Amish gentleman trying to get trees to build various things, had come in before that. But again, he is not clear cutting the trees.
And that doesn't matter to me. It's trees are trees. And as a result of that activity, the Northampton County Conservation District on June 21st issued a violation letter because of that activity, because we're on a very, very steep sloped area. Failure to implement and or maintain ENS BMPs for earth disturbance. failure to install or properly maintain a rock construction entrance, failure to install or maintain effective barrier control BMPs, compost filler socks, silt fences, etc., failure to temporarily stabilize areas where there is a cessation of, may I finish?
Well, I was just going to say, what does that have to do with the application that's before us? That
What?
is something.
It has a lot to do with what the application before us, because you're disturbing the woods behind my house. I happen to live there.
I understand that, but the fact that
May
the
I finish, Mr. President? I'm speaking right now. I have the floor, I thought.
You do. Please proceed.
Thank you. Failure to install and maintain effective, I already said that. Failure to temporarily stabilize areas where there would be a cessation of earth disturbance activities for at least 4 days. Failure to develop and/or implement a written ENS plan. Failure of activity not requiring a permit to comply with Chapter 102 requirements. And so, in my opinion, they're in violation, and it really raises my hair whether or not they're going to be doing, you as Verizon are going to be doing a good job or not. But I also want to address.
Let me
Hold
just,
on.
let me,
I am not finished yet.
yeah, let me just respond to
Priscilla.
that, because you just accused Verizon of doing something when Verizon has not done something out there.
I'm
Priscilla,
just
is
warning
it
you.
fair to allow the applicant here to respond point by point to the issues that you're raising, or would you prefer just to put everything out there and have them respond all at once? I
Yeah,
defer
that's
to
usually
you.
what people do. They can do that if they want.
Well, do you want them to respond to you point by point, or do
Okay,
you
let
want
her
to continue your
respond
monologue?
point by point. Let me hear what she has to say.
I'm asking you, what's your preference here?
That's fine. Go ahead. We're wasting time.
I only take issue with the fact that she's saying that Verizon would do something and that Verizon has not done anything at the site. And if the logging person didn't do their ENS controls, then they are in violation. They would have to resolve it. But that is not the subject of our application.
Thank
Okay.
you. Your next point?
Okay, so on the record, I would like to place or read, and I would like a copy of this for the record for the township. I contacted the State Ethics Commission regarding whether or not I can vote or not vote on this issue, because a certain resident had really issue with this. So, and I also have a copy for you too, if you would like it. Not you, the guy behind you.
I would like that.
Well, then Mark's going to have to get it to you. And maybe you should do a right to know request.
But if you're making it available here, I shouldn't need a right to know.
There's
request.
no copy machine here, so that's up to Mark what he wants to
It
do.
doesn't need to
Usually-
be a right to know request. You can request
usually-
a copy from the township manager and he will provide a copy to you in due
Usually
course.
he tells people to do a right to know. Okay,
Not
so
for an
my,
item that's attached as an exhibit to the hearing.
the conclusion, can I finish my thing? Okay, as a response, a conclusion to the June 9th letter. As a member of Township Council, you are a public official, subject to the provisions of the Ethics Act. You would not have a conflict of interest and would not violate Section 103A of the Ethics Act by reviewing the application and voting as to Township Council's position before the Township's Zoning Hearing Board with respect to the application unless, one, you would be consciously aware of a private pecuniary I can't say that, pecuniary financial benefit for yourself, a member of your immediate family, or a business with which you are a member of your immediate family is associated. Number two, your actions would constitute one or more specific steps to attain that benefit. And three, neither of the statutory exclusions to the definition of conflict or conflict of issue of interest as set forth by the Ethics Act 65 PACS 1102 would be applicable. In each instance of a conflict of interest, you would be required to abstain from participation, which would include voting unless one of the statutory, I can't say that either, exceptions of Section 1103J of the Ethics Acts would be applicable. Additionally, the disclosure requirement of Section 1103J of the Ethics Acts would have to be satisfied in the event of a voting conflict. And it goes on. So I really don't have an conflict. So I will be voting on this matter. And like I said, sir, you may. Yeah. Last time when you were here, I was questioning, you said you didn't change your 47-page document. That's still the same as was at the last meeting. And I questioned the location of where the cell tower was going to go. Because my property, when you're standing, looking at the picture that you took of my property and the arrow that comes down, I don't have a, remember that picture?
We did not change our plan. We have not submitted anything new. The only thing that when we would submit a new plan is going to show that we now have the 25-foot of Randolph.
Right, I understand that. Okay.
But when we were here before, you just didn't understand where we were saying that the site was located.
No, don't say I didn't understand, but go ahead.
Well, it felt like you didn't
Priscilla,
understand.
Well,
you
that's
asked
your
her,
opinion.
Priscilla, you asked her to not interrupt you. Please don't
No.
interrupt her as she's responding to
And
you.
we did our best at the last meeting, but when we left the last meeting, we were not charged to do anything further as it related to making a confirmation as to where the site was as it related to your property.
Can you show me on this picture where it is?
I'm not going to show you on your property where
You're not?
it's located.
Okay, then I'll wait for Thursday. What I said last meeting goes along with this meeting, so, thank you.
Mr. Urso, do you have anything else in response?
I have nothing else in response.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from council?
What does our solicitor think about a conflict in voting here? I want to know. He's a solicitor. What does he?
Yeah, sorry, I just figured that out. I don't know what specific question Ms. De Leon asked the Ethics Commission. I've received numerous letters over the years from the Ethics Commission, and you ask them a question and they respond. So I couldn't opine either way because I don't have enough information. But
I spoke with them in length about my question. I also followed it up with a written request, but I didn't bring my written request because they pretty much said it word for word in that letter.
Link, but what do you think? She owns a piece of property adjacent to where this tower is proposed.
yeah, well, under the Ethics Act, the definition of conflict of interest requires a financial interest. It doesn't matter where you live. So again,
And the financial interest is not like property value or anything?
no, there needs to be a concrete financial interest in the outcome of the project. For example, you couldn't vote for a contract that your husband was being awarded because there's a financial interest to you or a family member.
And I specifically asked Kate at the last meeting if the neighbors had to sign anything to derive a financial interest, and she said no. I
Link,
specifically
is
asked that
potential diminution of property value as a result of a cell phone tower going up next door on a neighbor's property a pecuniary interest?
I'm going to say off the top of my head, without doing research, it's probably not concrete enough because how do you know?
I don't know what you're talking about that I said. I didn't talk anything about the conflict of interest when I was here before. Okay.
I know you did not. No, I was asking you questions about the contract that Rocky had signed, and I wanted to know if you required any additional signatures from adjacent properties, and I believe you said no.
That is correct.
And I would derive a financial benefit out of it.
Listen, the reason I was inquiring, it's obvious. Listen, no matter which way or a vote goes here or a vote goes in the zoning, there'll be rights of appeal by Verizon or the property owners. And I want our solicitor to weigh in and say, okay, Priscilla, he doesn't see a conflict and you can vote. I mean, Why would we, because it'll be the township that has to defend that litigation.
I'm surprised you being an attorney are not aware of the fact that there's certain things that are
I'm not a
legislated by the
municipal.
state and by the township code and by all those other things. And this particular instance is the State Ethics Commission, which I have high regards for.
I do too. But I'm not a municipal attorney. It's not my specialty. That's why I rely on Link for a lot of advice on stuff like this.
And if Link was in charge of making that decision, I would have asked him for a written opinion, but I knew where to go because I go to all these training sessions.
Here's the concern that I have with this this application, and that is, if we do not support, or if this does not get approved by the zoning hearing board, there is a right of appeal. It seems to me that what the applicant here is proposing is the least harmful alternative. And the least harmful alternative in this situation is the least number of trees being cut down, the least linear footage of roadway being constructed on the property to access a tower that may be located somewhere else on the property. So I think there's some benefit to the township and its residents in a number of ways, in preserving the trees, in limiting the stormwater management issues that may be necessary by creating greater roadways. And I tend to support that because to locate this elsewhere causes greater harm. So I'm going to make a motion, and I think it's beneficial to the township also that if there is going to be an appeal here one way or the other, to have the solicitor involved in this early. And if there's somebody who is opposed to it, then they can take the laboring oar and pursue it without us having to incur those litigation fees. So I'm going to make a motion to support the application here. Application for variance 02-23 for 4235 Lewis Avenue for the installation of a cell tower. And again, the three variances I believe that are being requested here by the applicant are for the setback, for landscaping, and also a waiver for the access paving.
That is correct.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
Thank you.
Before we move on, can I clarify something? So support the application means you want to send a letter to the zoning hearing board, or do you want to send me to the zoning hearing board?
Send you.
Yes.
Well, you should clarify that in the
So
second motion.
I'll make that a part of my motion for clarity.
Just make it a second motion.
All right,
so.
second motion is to have the solicitor physically attend the zoning hearing board meeting or meetings with regard to this application.
I'll second that motion.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
Thank you. All right, next up is a discussion and possible authorization to prepare ordinance for council's review, zoning map and text amendments. The potential map amendments would be in the area north of Apple Butter Road, east of Steel City, south of the Lehigh River, and west of Route 33 and 78 intersection. From rural agricultural to light industrial, the potential text amendments may include allowing landfills and waste disposal facilities as a permitted conditional or special exception use, site plan requirements for uses that require land development approval, and a natural resource mitigation alternative. This potential ordinance could contain similar or revised amendments to the zoning map and text as contained in former ordinance 2022-02, which was available on board docs and the township website. So it's probably good to start with Link giving us a history of how we got to this point and the status of our prior rezoning efforts and conditional use hearing.
Sure. As we discussed at the last meeting, the ordinance 2022-02, which was adopted at the end of last year, beginning of this year, was overturned by the Northampton County Court of Common Pleas. The township did not appeal that. The landfill, however, since the last meeting that we had, did appeal that. So the question before council tonight is, based on that decision from the Northampton County Court of Common Pleas, would council like to consider readopting the provisions of that ordinance in the same form, different form, similar form, proceeding forward, understanding that the appeal being filed will proceed on its own. However, that does not prevent this council from acting to adopt another ordinance based on the fact that the prior one was overturned. So I guess the question is, in terms of the area of the zoning map, what do we want to do there? And in terms of the text amendments, what would we like to do there?
So Link, just so that I understand clearly what the Northampton County Court of Common Pleas Judge Cassis did, his ruling, as I understand it, is that the title of the ordinance was not sufficiently descriptive, despite it being, well over 100 words. And he also found that the notice did not provide adequate notice to potential interested parties, even though there were no interested parties that came forward to indicate that they didn't receive notice of this. Is that correct?
There were a number of factual issues that Judge Cassis cited in upholding the procedural validity challenge. So the sum and substance of that is that procedurally the ordinance was invalid. We never got to the substantive validity of the ordinance due to the fact that he found that it was procedurally invalid based on some advertising, and those two things you mentioned were two of the items. Yes.
Mark, do we have a map? Is that our map? So as I understand it, what we did last time was we rezoned approximately 275.7 acres with a conditional use. Among those conditional uses are various light industrial zoning designations, including landfills, but not necessarily just landfill, correct?
What the 2022-02 ordinance, you're correct on the acreage that was rezoned from RA to LI. It also changed the specific landfill use from what is currently a special exception use, which goes in front of the zoning hearing board, to a conditional use, which comes before this council. That's what the prior ordinance did.
And the hearings that Mr. McNair was presiding over, those were with regard to the conditional use, correct?
That's correct.
And those hearings were ongoing until the court entered its order, and those hearings have been suspended until further direction from the court, the Superior Court, or from us, correct?
Also correct.
So when we rezoned the 275.7 acres, we did so based upon a proposed plan for that property, correct? And that proposed plan included various areas consisting of how many acres was it?
The genesis of that map was a request for a rezoning and zoning amendment that came from the landfill.
And out of that 275.7 acres, how much of that space was being proposed for landfill versus open space?
I'm going to say around 100 was for landfill use. Now, I'm not 100% sure if that was disposal area or if that included stormwater facilities and similar facilities as well.
Yeah, I seem to think that the actual landfill portion of it was about 40 or 41% of the entire part.
It was not the
275 acres.
entire 275, no.
But we could have allowed landfill on all 275.7.
Well, no,
acres.
the way the zoning ordinance works is you change the map to, if you change the map to industrial, it can go anywhere in that industrial. It was the landfill specific proposal that had limited to that acreage that we just discussed.
So as a result of all of this, those protections that were being proposed are now uncertain as a result of the pending appeal to the Superior Court. Is that fair to say?
Well, I think what's on council's plate this evening is to decide, what, if anything, areas are appropriate for LI and light industrial zoning out in that vicinity, which is up on the screen.
Well, I guess and I don't recall this, and maybe you can help refresh my memory. Why do we limit ourselves to the 275.7 acres? Why didn't we consider additional parcels that would create a greater light industrial newly zoned area?
Well, I think it was the genesis of that map, that 2022-02 map was the request from the landfill to look at those specific parcels.
And those were all parcels that were owned by or under the control of the landfill, correct?
That's correct.
And there was nothing that prevented us then, nor now, from looking at other parcels in addition to those parcels that were being proposed by the landfill, correct?
No, I mean, it's a new ballgame. You can look at whatever parcels you want.
Then why don't we do that?
You can.
I agree. I mean,
So we have in front of us here up on the screen, this is the satellite image of the existing landfill and the parcels that were being proposed, including the tank farm area. And as I recall, the areas that were being proposed were to the west of the pipeline that sort of bisects those properties in the middle. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the parcels that were to the east of the pipeline that bisects those parcels, those were going to be rezoned light industrial, but not subject to active landfill operations, right?
The parcel that has the tank farm, which is what most people call it, on it, that entire parcel was going to be rezoned to light industrial, was proposed to be rezoned to light industrial. I think the landfill actual plan showed it staying to the west of the pipeline location. But the zoning map would have been light industrial for that entire parcel.
Well, looking at the map that you have there,
we have that. Mark, can you pull up the old, or Stacy, can you pull up the map from ordinance 2022-02? The colored one? Yeah, there you go. So those parcels that you see crosshatched in the darker color were the ones that were proposed to go from RA to LI, as that graphic says in the center of the screen. And then there's that small sliver to the west as well. That's the actual map from ordinance 2022-02.
so I'm looking at that and I see there are a number of smaller properties that are adjacent, I guess, on the north side of Apple Butter Road that were not included in the rezoning proposal. And I assume that those are properties that were not owned by or under the control of the landfill. Is that right?
I think the landfill's initial request back, I think it was last fall, September, October sometime, only referenced parcels that they had control over.
Well, just like when we did on Eastern Road, when we rezoned those properties, there was a natural boundary, which was 78 in the backyards of those properties and across the street where the warehouse is. And I'm wondering, why don't we look at this from the standpoint of rezoning everything that's kind of in that mustard color all the way to 78 and all the way down to Route 33? It's a much larger parcel that would be available for light industrial. Individuals that live there can continue to live there and do whatever they want to do, but it also gives the opportunity for light industrial development greater than what was proposed here. I think what was proposed initially, which was the 275.7, and only 40% of that was going to be landfill, could be used for other purposes, other light industrial approved purposes. Why not look at a bigger footprint than what was initially being done here and doing it as a matter of right? I don't see the need for the conditional use. The conditional use hearings seem to accomplish not a lot over a long period of time. And I'm not sure why we would have to have a conditional use for this if we're looking to actually increase are taxable rateables that we can get on these properties.
Right. I think it increases those property values, and it also gives us more light industrial for we've stated that the township desperately needs. So I say,
Well, those are my thoughts on it. I don't know. Mark, do you want to add do you have any comments? Sandy? Okay. Tom?
no, I think we should rezone it light industrial, all of it.
So you're, just so I understand, so you would be talking about those smaller, what you called mustard colored lots that are just north of Apple Butter Road, right? And then follow Apple Butter to where it hits 78, go north up there to where you hit the conjunction kind of, I guess that's 33 and 78, right?
Yes.
And then the Lehigh River on the other side as the boundary. I mean, that's the boundary of Lower Saucon Township.
Yes. I mean, it seems to be a natural boundary.
Yeah.
Well, unless there's any other questions or comments from council, I'll make a motion.
So I'll second that motion, the direct link to prepare the.
If we look back at ordinance 2022-02, which was amending our code, we would need to amend the 275.7 acre reference that's in here. We would also have to remove the conditional use approval for this. It would be a permitted use. Further down, where it says, when approved in writing by the Council of Lower Saucon Township, that would have to be removed because it would be approval as a matter of right. Under Section 1, amendment to Chapter 180 zoning, Section 180-15 zoning map, subsection A. The first paragraph again references 275.7. That would have to be changed. Section 2, amendment to Chapter 180 zoning, Section 180-79.1 conditional uses. That would have to reflect permitted use. Same thing in Section 3, Section 4, Section 5. Under Section 6, amendment to Chapter 180 zoning, Section 180-109 industrial uses. Under Part G, natural resource mitigation alternative, I think that would need to be addressed. If we go to Section 6, G6, you have to remove the words with the approval of Township Council. Section 7, again, removing to the satisfaction of Township Council. And I think those would be the main changes, but I'm going to make a motion to direct the Township Solicitor to prepare a proposed ordinance amending the zoning consistent with our discussions here, and to coordinate those efforts with the township engineer and township manager, and have those available for us at our next council meeting, which is July. When's our next meeting?
11th.
11?
You actually didn't set, that's later on the agenda to set
okay.
your meetings for July.
All right, so our next meeting in July for our consideration, and if it gets approved at that point, then it would be published, and then it would be decided at some point after that.
I'll second that motion.
Is that motion satisfactory, Link?
Yeah, that's enough for me to prepare what you just suggested.
Mr. Ingalls, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Sugar, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Carochi, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
No, this is a sacrilege or a mortal sin if you're Catholic.
Motion passes 3-2.
Next on the agenda is a discussion and possible authorization to prepare ordinance for council's review of potential zoning map amendments for the area east of Route 378 and north of Colesville Road from R40 to general business. Link, do you want to speak to this? Because I know we already addressed some rezoning adjacent to what's being proposed here.
We did. Stacy, can you put the map up, please? So at a previous meeting with a previous ordinance, council changed some of the land located around 378 to GB, which you see in that darker blue color on the screen there. What we did not do was the area that you see crosshatched with the light blue with the red lines through it. And that was due to a couple errors that were made in the advertisement. So at that time, it was requested that we bring it back, and it's here for your consideration.
Well, we've already addressed this previously. This was just I guess, a Scrivener's error that didn't include it in the prior rezoning. Any questions from Mark? Sandy?
No.
I don't have any. Priscilla?
Yeah, I just want to go back to when. I'd just like to go back to when we had a task force. It was a while back, and I wasn't on it, but I attended some of the meetings. And I remember asking a question of when they were rezoning, and a lot of the stuff that we did on 378 and on Easton Road and 412 were pretty much a result of the conclusion of that task force study. And I asked the question back at that time, did you ever think to have a meeting to invite the residents in that area? Because these meetings were public. Yes, they were advertised, but the average person out there had no clue that their neighboring parcel was going to be rezoned. And so I can't support this. So, and then a lot of the property owners are now benefiting from this that were on the task force. So read between the lines.
Tom?
I support the motion.
Link, just to be clear, this was properly, this will be properly posted and advertised and everything else, right?
The purpose of the agenda item this evening is to ask if you want the staff and myself to prepare the ordinance. It will come back just like the prior item that we discussed, and there will also be a public hearing in the future. So
Then I will make the motion to direct Township Solicitor and staff to prepare the proposed ordinance for potential rezoning of the area east of Route 378 north of Colesville Road from R40 to GB. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Tom?
Mr. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Angles, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
All right, next we have a discussion and possible authorization to prepare an ordinance for council's review zoning text amendments that would potentially allow underground storage tanks provided there is compliance with federal and state regulations in the carbonate geology areas. Mark or Link, do you want to speak to this? Or Brian?
I can. Again, this ordinance would change some of the regulations on underground storage tanks. Right now, it's very hard to put an underground storage tank in a carbonate geology area in Lower Saucon. There are, since that ordinance was adopted a number of years ago, that would make it very difficult to do that. There are a number of federal regulations that have been adopted. So what this ordinance would do would be to allow those types of underground storage tanks in a carbonate geology area if all of the federal regulations and guidelines are met.
Just so that I'm clear, the technology when our ordinance was written has changed drastically, which would allow for the safe utilization of these tanks subject to federal law, correct?
Yeah, I'm not an expert in any way on the technology, but yes, it's changed.
All right, so I'll make a motion to, I'm sorry, go ahead, Sandy.
I'd like to hear Brian as a engineer.
Yes, please.
And have his input on this, if he would, please.
Sure. So just a few times over the years, we've had requests for the commercial areas to put in underground storage tanks, and it's not only difficult, I don't think it's permitted at all. So when you look at your commercial areas where the gas stations would go, they're all in the carbonate areas. So so we did go through, we looked at the federal regulations. We pointed out maybe 6 or 7 areas in those regulations that we thought we ought to tighten up and not allow certain exceptions that the federal regulations might. So that's what we're suggesting, go into the ordinance, that you adopt the federal regulations with the changes that we've suggested.
We would still be tighter than the federal regulations from what you're
Correct.
saying. All right. All right.
And yes, as was mentioned earlier, we have worked with the Sheets people on this as well.
So the area that they want to put their Sheets gas station, that is carbonate then?
Yes.
The whole site?
I don't know about the whole site, but
So the recommendation is that because we're going over the federal standards, we could do this then, should do this.
there's no recommendation. The question is, do you want the ordinance drafted or not? That's tonight's question.
Right, and I'm asking that if we go higher than the federal standards, which is what we are doing by doing that, then we're allowing them to go into carbonate geology, put a tank.
That's what the effect of the ordinance would be, yes.
And just to be clear, the distinction between storage tanks and cell phone towers are that cell phone towers are regulated by the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, and federal law supersedes anything that Lower Saucon Township would put in place. In other words, we cannot provide anything that's more restrictive than the federal law. Is that correct, Link?
In terms of operation of the cell tower, right? The federal law does not necessarily discuss zoning aspects.
Correct. Thanks. All right. I'll make a motion to approve the township solicitor and staff to prepare an ordinance for the council's review for zoning text amendments that would potentially allow underground storage tanks, provided there's compliance with federal and state regulations in the carbonate geology areas.
Can I? Okay, hold on. Sorry. It's not, okay, it wasn't staying on. I apologize. Could we put the word minimally allow? Because I would like some authorization that in certain areas that we may, according to our engineer, want something a little tighter.
And Brian and I have worked on this together, so I think I know what he was talking about in terms of it's not locations, it's certain regulations that the federal regulations might have been not quite what we thought was correct.
Okay, all right. Just as long as.
That's what the proposal is.
Okay, all right. That sounds.
So will this go to the planning commission for their review then, after it's drafted and we approve it?
Yeah,
and then it'll go to the EAC.
It would be a zoning text amendment, just like the previous two that we discussed.
So that'll go to the LVPC then too?
To the LVPC?
Well, I don't know. I'm just asking.
No, is that what your question was?
Yeah.
LVPC, yes.
Okay.
So I made the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
I'm going to vote yes so I can hear everything.
Mr. Ingles, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next up, we have discussion and possible authorization to prepare an ordinance for council's review. The ordinance could provide for the submission of a voter referendum at the fall 2023 election that would ask the voters if the township should amend the optional plan of government, home rule charter, administrative code to limit the terms of elected council members to a certain maximum number. There's been efforts at the federal level and at the state level to term limits for elected representatives. And essentially, the purpose of those term limits is to promote good governance and to provide fresh ideas on the governing bodies. It also helps to allow the elected officials to vote in the best interest of the residents and not necessarily voting to support their candidacy for reelection. And I think that's necessary for the township. I think it's good for the township going forward to have term limits so that we get fresh people on township council. And to be clear, if this was to be approved and to be enacted, Link, this would not go into effect until the next election term, which would be in 2025. So in other words,
Right.
an individual elected in 2025 would be limited to 2 terms if this was to be approved. So in other words, if you were elected in 2025, you would be required to vacate in 2033 if you were serving concurrent or back-to-back 4-year terms, right?
If the term limit proposed would be 2 terms, yeah, correct.
Yeah, I think it's also been proposed at the county level just recently, in fact, and it was voted on, it was passed, but then it was vetoed by the county executive. I agree. I think it's a good idea. Let voters decide on term limits.
Feeling is that we have a primary, and during the primary, the voters get to pick what candidate they want to be in the general election. So I'm kind of mixed on this. Some days I get up and I think, yeah, we should have it. And other days, I think that's why we have a primary election. So I don't support this at this time.
Mark or Sandy?
I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea. I think it should be on the federal level as well. I've always believed that, and I believe it should be here as well.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
All right, unless there's any other comments, I'll make a motion to direct the township solicitor and staff to prepare a proposed ordinance, to prepare a referendum.
It's an ordinance. You need an ordinance to put the referendum on the ballot.
An ordinance to put the referendum on the ballot, limiting the terms of elected council to 2 terms maximum, 2 4-year terms.
I'll second.
Mr. Carucci, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next up, we have the Heller Homestead Widows House Windows Bid Award. Mark?
Yes, we put the Heller's Homestead Widow's House Windows Rehabilitation Project out to bid. The first time that we put it out to bid this year, we did not receive any bidders. That was technically the second time it was out to bid. It was put out to bid in 2021, I think it was. So we put it out a second time. We did get 2 bidders. The Artisanal Structures submitted a bid of $105,200, and the Heritage House Rights submitted a bid of $198,582.89. The township does have a grant to do work in the amount of $50,000. I am making a recommendation that we award the whole bid to Artisanal Structures in the amount of $105,200, as we've had such a difficult time finding someone to do this work.
No, I think that's a great idea, Mark. And thank you for
Yeah, I think
working
it's a
on
good
this.
idea.
I appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, this has been a long time coming, and I know it's been a lot of effort on staff's part, so thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
And it would be good, I think, to address all these windows at once and move on. Unless there's other questions or comments from council, I'll make a motion to approve the bid received from Artisanal Structures to rehabilitate all 17 windows in the amount of $105,200 with $55,200 of additional funding to be taken from the Historical Capital Fund.
I'll second that.
We're all here together. So
Sandy and Priscilla seconded simultaneously.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
yes.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Carucci, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next up, we have the Steel City Park lowering of the height of the fence, Mark.
So I was asked to get quotes to lower just the outfield fence. So this fence is internal in the park. All the fencing at Steel City is a 6-foot high fence. The internal outfield fence for the baseball field is also 6 feet high. I was asked to get quotes to take that fence and lower it from a 6-foot fence to a 4-foot fence. That'll give you more of an option to visually, you'll be able to see over it then, rather than looking into the 6-foot fence. I did get 3 quotes. The lowest quote was from Anchor Fence for $4,975. If the board wishes, we will get that work completed.
Is that your recommendation?
Yeah, to go with the lowest bid. Yep.
Just for a little bit of history, way back when they started thinking about the renovations to Steel City Park, there was a resident meeting held at the Steel City Fire Company, and the higher fences were recommended by the parents there because of the closeness to Riverside Drive and whatever, but you're just changing the inner, not the outer. I know. I'm just giving my spiel here. You know, we got to keep fresh ideas on the table. And I will support this because all this stuff was discussed at a meeting at Steel City. So, and I remembered.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve Anchor Fence in the amount of $4,975 to lower the outfield fence in Steel City Park from 6 feet to 4 feet.
I'll second it.
They're just not going to paint it like bright silver, right?
It will be galvanized as it is now.
You really needed sunglasses after it was installed.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next up, we have the Steel City Paving Bid Award. The township has received 3 bids for the Steel City Paving Project. The township staff is recommending that the bid be awarded to the lowest bidder, Broccolenti Construction, the amount of $826,627.50. This was an effort that we began, I think it was in September of last year, to look at hiring an outside paving contractor to do the entirety of Steel City. Similar to what we had done in Saucon Terrace. That was a very successful project, and it was able to free up public works staff to address paving needs in other parts of the township. So this seems to be the culmination that we now have a bid from Broccolenti. Is that correct, Mark?
Yeah, again, we got 3 bids. Broccolenti Construction was the lowest bid at $826,627.50. Actually, all these bids came in very, very close. So we got a good bid, good numbers. The high bid was $875,000. So the other bid came in right in the middle. So it was nice to see all the bids come in close together.
Yeah.
Mark, anticipating that we approve this today, did they say how quickly they can get started?
Brian.
I did talk to Broccolenti and asked them that question so we could plan resources, and they indicated early September.
Great.
And they did finish this year before the weather turns.
Yeah, the contract requires them to finish this fall.
And just to be clear, the paving isn't going to include Riverside Drive because that's a state road, right?
That's correct.
Right. So if there's any issues with Riverside Drive, that's got to go to Bob Freeman, I guess.
I know
Or PennDOT.
we did, Saucon Terrace was done by Gaver Industries. I know they did a good job, but I talked to Brian during our break here, and you said you've worked with Broccolenti before, and
yes,
and you thought they did a good job. They do a good job.
Yeah, they have the manpower and equipment.
Okay, all right. Because the residents in Saucon Terrace seem very happy with what Gaver Industries did, but it's $50,000 more. So I think we should go with the lower bid as long as we feel confident that we can get the same quality of service from Broccolante. So I'll make the motion.
Brian, do we know the last time Steel City was paved?
Well, in looking at it, it's been paved over many years. Here and there, as the roads have needed, Public Works has addressed it.
But basically patches, correct?
Yeah, I mean, you can look at it that way.
Right.
Okay.
Oil and chip stuff, like,
Yeah. That's not really,
Did you make the motion, Tom?
Yeah, I made the motion.
I'll second the motion.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
yes.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next up are the police department improvements, painting and flooring, continuing the maintenance of the township building that began last year in the administration department. The township has received quotes to paint the police department and replace the flooring in the police department. Mark?
Yeah, we received a quote from Wright Flooring, which is a CoStar's vendor, and they did the flooring in the administration side of the building. They did a great job. So the quote to do the flooring, this is linoleum and carpet. So it'd be the commercial carpet squares that if something gets dirty, you can just pick up one square and replace it for $22,415. And then the low quote that we received for the painting was Amato Painting in the amount of $6,500. So this would be a continuation of the project that we started last year. And then in 2024, we plan to also continue the project in council chambers, town hall lobby, the lobby bathrooms, and the small conference room.
Want these as separate motions? Would that be better?
I think.
Okay. I'll make a motion for the police department in the amount of $22,414 for a new floor in the police department.
I'll second.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
Oh, I'm sorry. It said, okay, 415. I'm sorry.
I'll still second.
Okay.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Do you want to do the second one, Sandy?
I will make the motion to award the bid to Amato Painting in the amount of $6,500 for perform minor repairs and painting for the police department.
Second.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Benonis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Both motions passed.
All right, next is discussion and possible action on summer schedule of council meetings. We generally reserve the option to have a council meeting in July as to whether or not there's going to be business. I anticipate that this summer there will be business. So I'm going to propose that we set a number of dates and advertise those for council meetings. I'm going to propose that we have a council meeting on July 11 at some time during the daytime. Afternoon is fine. On July 26 at 6:30 p.m., on August 16 at 6:30 p.m., and on August 30th at 9:00 a.m.
Dates again, please, and the times? Can you say those dates again and the times?
If you ask nicely, I will.
I thought that was nicely. I could, you wanted me,
No.
you want to see my mean side?
I've already seen it, thanks.
No, you haven't.
July 11 in the daytime, again, I said sometime in the afternoon. July 26 at 6:30 p.m., August 16 at 6:30 p.m., and August 30 at 9:00 a.m.
Wait, the time is, it's July 11th
It
question.
would be a day meeting. And the other ones are at 6:30.
Except for July 11th, which will be in the afternoon.
Right.
Can I ask why a day meeting?
Why not? We've had them before.
Because I know it did. We also had meetings, and 9 a.m., like what, I know you guys have a plan. So what's your plan? Just tell us right now. We're going to find
Plans
out
for
about
a
it.
daytime meeting. Yeah. A daytime meeting.
July 11th, daytime.
All right, do we have a
Supreme-
second? Are there any other questions or comments about that?
I'll second.
All right, thanks, Tom. Mark?
U.S. Supreme Court meets in the daytime, so does Congress. I guess we can too.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote? Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes, more.
Motion passes 4-1.
All right, next we have discussion and possible action on summer schedule. Next up is special event application, Passport to History, Lutz Franklin.
The Lower Saucon Township Historical Society is going to do a special event out at the Lutz Franklin House called the Passport to History on July 29th. All of the departments have looked at it and okayed it. I think they've done this event several times, so this is just a regular event for them. It just comes in as a special permit.
I don't have any questions. Any questions from council? No. All right, I'll make a motion to approve the special event application.
Second.
Just if anyone, before I call the motion, if anyone is interested, they're going to do this event on Saturday, July 29th, out at the Lutz Franklin Schoolhouse from 11 a.m. to 2:30. I do not have a definition of what the event is. It's just called the Passport to History.
Sandy, doesn't the rest of the county do something like this on the same day? And that's why they call it the Passport
I don't
to
know if they
History?
they're doing it this year. They've done it in the past. I didn't look at it this year.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote? Yes. Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next up, we have Resolution 54-2023 to support an application for a Northampton County 2024 hotel tax grant. The township would like to submit a grant for AED machines to be placed in the township parks.
So the township received a request about AED machines in the parks. The chief and I and Kyle looked into this. We found special storage boxes that lock. They have a lock, and then if someone would need the AED machine, if they were out walking with a friend and they'd have a heart problem, they could go to wherever the AED is located in the park, call 911. 911 will give them the code to open the box, and then they can go apply the AED to their friend. This has been done in Massachusetts and a couple areas, other areas around the country. The grant allows for requests for something that improves public health and wellness. So the township staff thought it was a good idea and wanted to bring it to the board to see if you would support us putting in a grant request to the Norco Hotel tax grant. The total cost would be about $18,000. The grant would be for $13,500, and the township match would be $4,500.
I think this is a great idea, life-saving. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to support the application, Resolution 54-2023 to support an application for Northampton County 2024 hotel tax grant for the AED machines.
Second.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next up, we have approval of the May 17, 2023 council minutes. Unless there are any questions or comments, I'll make a motion to approve the May 17, 2023 council minutes.
Second.
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
I think I was here, so I think I'll abstain.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next, we have approval of May 2023 financial reports. Unless there's anything to add, Kathy, I'll make a motion to approve the May 2023 financial reports.
I'll second.
Mr. Croce, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Engels, how do you vote? Yes. Mr. Yerger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, we're up to council and staff reports. Mark, is there a manager report?
Yeah. The landfill committee meeting scheduled for July 20th is going to be rescheduled until Tuesday, July 25th, also to be held at 5 p.m. Lower Saucon Township is hosting an electronic recycling event on Saturday, October 14th at 9 a.m. at the Lower Saucon Township Public Works Building. Just a quick update, the active transportation plan that the township completed. The township has completed a walking path trail connection from the circle of Glenview Drive to East Raiders Lane, which was mentioned in the transportation action plan. And then the township has also purchased a bike share stencil and plans to add bike shares and signage along Skibo and Meadows Road as laid out in the active transportation plan. And then just if anyone is interested, the township will host our first movie in the park for this summer, this Friday on June 30th at Polk Valley Park. We will be showing the movie The Goonies, and the movie will begin at 7 p.m. in the upper lot near the pavilion. Just to have on your calendars, on July 28th, we will be showing Cars in Steel City Park. And on August 18th, we will be showing Toy Story here up at Town Hall Park. That is all I have.
All right, council reports. Mark.
Actually, I want to ask Mark a quick question. How's the compost center working or drop off?
So far, the compost center has been working very well. I talked to the gentlemen that are working out there. The residents have figured out how it's working. They come in very pleasant with the guys. They drop their stuff off, and then we send the material down to Victory Gardens to be composted.
So running pretty smoothly? No real changes needed or?
No, not at this time. Everything so far has been going very good. And the employees have been happy with it, and the residents, like I said, have figured out the new system, and everybody seems to be getting rid of their yard waste.
Well, I thank you, Mark, for all your
Good.
efforts with that.
And an update on our pickleball courts for the audience. We've been researching putting some in down at Polk Valley Park, and I think Mark's moving along with that.
Yeah, but I'm working on getting quotes. We'll do the paving in-house. Then we needed to get quotes for the installation of the pickleball nets and then the painting of the courts. So we just received a couple of quotes for that. Just have to work with Roger on some of the land moving stuff, but should have something at probably one of the July meetings.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Sandy?
I have nothing right now.
Okay. Just briefly, I attended the township pension meeting on June 14, 2023, and Kathy, feel free to weigh in if I miss anything or misrepresent anything. So this was a meeting with Morgan Stanley and our actuary. There's been no major developments or changes in the trust or the plan. Morgan Stanley provided an overview of the economy and where the market is and where it's headed. There are positive returns in our fixed income investments. The S&P has been up 9%, which is great for this year. It's been best in the growth, but the problem is that this is not a wide breadth of stocks that are doing very well. Very few companies are doing well. Apple, Tesla, and technology companies like that. In June, it looked like the improvement in the market may be coming a little bit more broad. Interest rates have gone down slightly. The yield curve remains inverted. And the significance of that is that we've never had a recession without an inverted yield curve. So we need to keep that in mind as we plan other aspects of the township's finances. Fixed income investments are saying the economy is definitely slowing down. The collapse of 3 banks has been a very bank-specific problem. Debt ceiling has been resolved, at least for now, and The inflation is slowing. Interest rates have gone up 7 times in 2022. So far, 3 times in 2023. There may be a pause and it may go up again. Wage inflation is remaining very difficult to get control. Stock prices are very highly valued. They're expensive from historical norms. Fixed income investments are saying that we're headed toward a recession. Equity investments are saying we may have a soft landing. There's going to be further volatility. Chuck Freelander, who is our actuary, has analyzed our handling of the pensions. He looks at this every 2 years. He's looking at funding level needs. The next MMO will be done in the fall of 2024. We are funding people's benefits while they're working. We're not passing on those debts to the next generation to pay those bills, which is great news. Amortization for the police pension is going down. It's still 3 to 4 times the non-uniform employee pensions. We're still getting contributions from the members as well as state aid. And as a result of that, it's going to result in a decrease in the township obligations, which is good news. We are actually funded and our pension is funded at over 100%. We're at 106.6%. Our assets exceed our actuarial obligations. So we are very well funded, even in a volatile market. And the 5-year yields have been in the 5.5 to 7% range. So for those who may be critical of our handling of township finances, we seem to be doing pretty well. And that's all I have. Priscilla? Tom?
Wait, I have nothing.
Okay, I think it's good. I'll be brief. One, I'd like to put on the agenda, I want to, for next time, to honor the Saucon High School baseball team that won the district tournament and then, finished like 4th in the state. So let's get on that on July, because a lot of the kids are seniors, will be going to college, they won't be around. So let's try and do that in July.
Don't you need a second council person to approve that?
Yeah.
I'll be the second council
Okay, so
person.
I'll be that second.
I'll be the
person.
second person.
One of you.
More than happy.
3. Wow, that's a record. All right.
I was actually at the game. It was a horrible loss.
Yeah. Kathy, I wanted to know pool memberships. What do we stand? Who's joining what pool? Why? How are we doing there? People are swimming.
So far, we've reimbursed 71 residents in the amount of $4,325. Of that, a total of 9 have been to the Southern Lehigh Light pool, and 62 has been to the Hellertown pool.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Good. I'm glad that's going well. Then Kathy McGovern wanted me to point out that she did not say that there were environmental crimes at the landfill, but she did say that the Lehigh Valley air quality is among the worst in Pennsylvania, and the Lehigh River is named one of the most endangered rivers. My point was simply that the Pennsylvania DEP allowed a realignment, basically allowed them to stay in business for a couple more years. So they would have known all this as well, and still granted that. So.
All right. We do not have a junior council member as he's graduated from school. The solicitor's report.
I don't have anything additional this evening. Thank you.
The engineer's report.
Nothing more.
Okay, we're up to public comment, non-agenda items, residents, taxpayers only, 3-minute time limit. And first is Bob Blasco. Bob Blasco. All right. Next is Mark Ozimick. Mark Ozimick.
So what to say? What to say? Got to have something to say. Whoa. I don't know if there's a rule on your signs for voting, but they're still scattered around the valley because some haven't been picked up. And the library. The library is going to have a special group put together to find out if it's worthwhile to put Lower Saucon in there. See what the benefits are, see what the downfalls are. This we'll have to wait and see what becomes of that. More people wasting money and time since they already gave their opinion about not wanting it. And as far as the dump goes, and Attorney Treadwell's cost to Lower Saucon Township, I didn't get to talk to a lawyer yet, but I was going to look into having a petition started so that since you sat in court on the landfill side and fought for the landfill, instead of the taxpayers paying your cost, the landfill should pay your cost. That's what I think. Because since you ain't sticking up for the township residents, why should we foot the tax bill for you? So that's my opinion. I know you don't like it. You probably don't care.
I'm perfectly fine with your opinion.
That's good. I have to figure out how to do it. Not that there's some legal ramification that I did something wrong, the wrong way. Like all the stuff that Judge Kasich said you did wrong in the first dump fiasco. Anyway, I'm done. Everybody else can finish and they can go home. I have to be at work at 5 o'clock in the morning.
I forgot that Kathy did give me the updated library numbers. There are 205 families that applied for reimbursement for $8,200. 74 individual reimbursements received for $1,480. So there's 279 cards, 205 family, 74 individuals for total reimbursements of $9,680. That's to date. So that's about the people that are using the library.
The Hillertown Library.
This is Hellertown Library. That's correct.
And historically, I think we were paying about $107,000 or $109,000 a year.
Yes.
All right. Next is Bilal Khan. Bilal Khan.
Yeah, Bilal Khan, 2153 Saucon. I just wanted to ask you again to consider the order in which the meetings are arranged. As it is right now, there's public comment, and then after that, there's the developers who make a statement, and then really we're not allowed to make any further statements about agenda items, which means that if there are any gaps, we're basically counting on you to listen to what the public comment was and make note and then represent those questions to the developers. But I haven't heard any of you actually bring up, for example, very simple concern that I had was that of the 3 maps that are currently associated with the cell tower, none of them have a marking on it that say, this is the location of the cell tower. There's no marking like that.
Sir, the cell phone tower issue was an agenda item, and I believe you already spoke to it.
I understand. I will stop speaking about that. But I was requesting that I was making that statement is part of my request that the order in which the meetings are conducted, you should consider revising that. That's what I'm speaking to. I'm saying that developers should have to speak first, and then the public comment should be on the basis of what the developers have said, since you're not conveying our concerns. Now, a couple of things that have been attributed to me, I'd like to just clarify. Somebody made a statement about Lehigh University. I mean, I just would like to make the statement that if I lived in Lower Saucon and worked for ExxonMobil, let's say, and I was protesting some landfill, you wouldn't say, well, you work for ExxonMobil. Did you think about the Exxon Valdez? Like that would not be considered like logical kind of argument, right? So the reason why I brought up Lehigh University was because as a faculty member, I have affiliations with the environmental department there. And as a township, you might consider making the use of those kinds of local resources to ensure oversight, right? That is part of your responsibility, not just to pass the buck on to DEP and say our hands are completely, clean. So those are a few things that I wanted to bring up. And then there was an issue about the term limits. The reason to be against term limits is because
Sir, again, that issue has already been addressed as an agenda item. This is non-agenda items. We're not going to relitigate. So this is non-agenda. This is not items that we've already discussed. If you have an item that's separate from what we've discussed.
Let me just say this. That institutional memory is an important thing. You should be guarding that. And part of that requires knowing what happened historically, knowing that 35 years ago or 30 years ago, people who moved here were told that the dump will be here for 3 to 5 years. That kind of knowledge requires an institutional memory, and that's lost.
They were told that by Priscilla De Leon, who voted for every landfill expansion in those previous 35
I'm sorry.
years.
Is this a dialogue? Is this a dialogue?
Sir, keep going.
Yeah. So I was simply saying that, institutional memory, and there is some advantage to having a notion of history, like how did we end up in this position? And that's something that would be lost if you were to just institute term limits.
All right, sir, I've given you an extra 30 seconds. You'll need to wrap up. Wrap up your comments, please.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Kathy Pitchell-McGovern. Kathy Pitchell-McGovern. Next is Laura Ray.
Okay, Laura Ray. I'm going to talk some about the lovely disparaging remarks that are made about the open space program, which I participated in maybe 15 years ago or so. I don't recall the year exactly. But it seems pretty appalling that the person who appointed himself as the chair of EAC, and one of the big things we do is have an open space program and promote for residents to participate in that, to continually badmouth me because I did participate in it. It was not a dirty backdoor deal that was done in the dark of night that nobody knew about. My property falls on the county line with Bucks County. So I have Springfield Township, which was involved in this easement, along with Northampton County participated, along with our township. So there was a lot of eyes on it, and there was a lot of criteria that had to be met before the property was accepted into the program. And the easement was done appropriately with a third party involved. So it does run with the land in perpetuity. It can't be broken. My property has the headwaters for the Cooks Creek because, which is an exceptional value stream, which there's very few of those around. I'm not the total owner of the property. I co-own it with somebody, so I didn't have full control over. Money's involved and whether we participate or not. So I just think it's disgusting that you continue to badmouth people. So how does this promote our open space program if you're going to put down people or somehow insinuate that they're a bad person if they participate in the program? And it has nothing to do with my volunteer work within the community, which I have done for decades at no pay. So it's two totally separate topics, which makes no sense for you to try to lump it together somehow. So
How much money did you put, taxpayer money did you put in your pocket?
That is really low. Everybody that participates does the same thing. So why aren't you picking on the 20 people that we gave open space money to? Why is she different?
I haven't received open space money.
What's that?
I haven't received open space money.
All right, next
what you're
is
talking
Ginger
about.
Petrie. Ginger Petrie. And next is Dave Belan. Appears that way.
I want to run fast. No. Dave Land, no, I'm not running for office as these other people, and no, I don't have any land deals. What I wanted to do, Priscilla, if you'll listen, was to in person say that, yes, I did go to the recycling center, and I was absolutely flabbergasted not to see 7 or 8 people there with trucks and front end loaders worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Along with several other people, we just put our trash in the compactors and away we went. So I have to think there was one person there, I don't know, $30 an hour. He's there for how many hours during the day versus just the interest on all of that other equipment. So I don't know what happened or how it happened that we ended up with that. But nonetheless, I'm very pleased with it. It meets all of my needs without having to wait in line and show cards and do all of the mishmash. So kudos. If you can do more things like that, or we will continue to have more money for things that are really important. I did hear about the pool a little bit. There's another one. And I did find an article about the Hellertown Library. And we're never going there. Bethlehem Library over my dead body. And that was, I think, about a decade ago. And it went on to extol how a council person just would not give that up no matter what, because Hellertown was not worth it. Well, I think that there are other ways to look at it. And I think that this council is doing the right thing. Very pleased with that. I don't know about the floods, but that's okay. I'm very pleased. It's great to see the positive reaction. It's really nice to be able to speak at these meetings because I can remember a year ago, I wasn't able to stand up and say anything because of all the yelling and screaming and hooting and people popping up like little whack-a-moles. You don't remember that, Priscilla, I can tell. You want me to get out the pictures we took? No, you don't. Okay. Anyhow, so I am very happy with what's happened.
Priscilla, he has the floor.
That's okay.
So please don't interrupt him.
That was a whack-a-mole.
I don't care if you're
Okay.
friends. He has the floor.
Well, you got that title then.
Mr.
Okay.
Belan, please proceed.
Anyhow, that's fine. That's all. There are many good things. And anybody in this town that says there's nobody that wants that landfill, come on over to Alice Drive. I'll take you around and show a lot of people to you who say, yep, nobody wants it in their backyard, whatever it's a prison or a landfill or whatever not. But there we go. So do they show up here? What are they going to do? Complain that it's not going to be expanded? No, they think it's the right thing. And we'll see what the election brings us. 9 seconds. Okay. As far as the monitoring of the site, yep, I think that's a good idea. Lehigh ought to get involved through the professor here. I think that's called grabbing the bull by the horns. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a great idea.
All right. I think that concludes the public comment non-agenda items. I think that concludes our meeting. So I will make a motion to adjourn.
Ms. DeLeon? Ms. DeLeon, how do you vote
Yes.
to adjourn? Mr. Engels, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Sugar?
Yes.
Mr. Bononis?
Yes.
Mr. Croce? Motion passes. Meeting's adjourned.
All right. Be safe, everyone.